Defense made a motion for a mistrial. Prosecutor was up to some fuckery. Potentially damaging evidence, no basis for it. The judge specifically said, do not ask that question. Do not use that as evidence. She walked right down the path and asked the question. It may be over on Tuesday morning. Batman Bruce Wayne bitch snitch. Gerald Brooks, your constitution does not apply to me because I'm a sovereign citizen, a traveler on the land. I'm the Moorish Empire or whatever, bitch snitch. Because they're so fucking absurd. If you want to be a sovereign citizen, just do yourself a favor first. Go to YouTube here and just get every sovereign citizen that's ever been recorded. Find me one that won. God dang, you're right. Don't go down this. It's not the path. Don't have time for stupidity. Some clever dick on the internet didn't find the great loophole in all of the world's law. Bitch snitch. God dang, you're right. God dang, you're right. Traveler on the land. God dang, you're right. Moorish Empire. Traveler on the land. Bitch snitch. Moorish Empire. God dang, you're right. Traveler on the land. Bitch snitch. Late evening U.S. people.
Who was it? Who could it possibly be? Was it? Oh, I don't know. Say it.
The power of Christ compels you.
Welcome. How are we all doing? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, all that other stuff. I'm just glad you're doing it here with me, Legal Vices, on our little Legal Vices channel here on the YouTubes. And today is Thursday. We've had a rough 2 days talking about the Uvalde charges and going over the timeline and talking about some pretty heavy stuff. So we're going to take a break from all that horrible stuff and just talk about your common, everyday, ordinary witchcraft ritual murder trial. We're taking a break from this serious stuff to just talk about a little murder. What's a little murder amongst family? Come on, people. And we do have our little like and subscribe poll set up, which we'll talk about here in a minute. But I was looking through, and unfortunately, we're not getting to the Wiccan High Priest today. If we stick with it, the Wiccan High Priest is likely to be at the end of next week. So we've got about 3 more weeks of this trial. Not counting today. So 3 more weeks after today. So yeah, the Wiccan priest will either be at the end of next week or the beginning of the week after. We've got the detective that was on this. Was she the detective? Whoever was on the stand at the end of last time, we got her for the whole 2 hours today. I'm just welcoming all of you here. It is August 1st. It is the first day of August. All of the July super chats reset, and we are starting over again with a fresh month. And it's the Friday is tomorrow. It's payday, so let's all have fun and unlock the doggo cam. Let's see if we get to the goal today. Let's see if we get to the doggo cam, emotional support potato pig dog cam today or not. Mandy, I came to the channel to start yesterday's stream anew, and bam, you're live winning. Mandy, same bat time, same bat channel every day. And yesterday's stream was really depressing and angerfying and just maddening. Today is just your average run-of-the-mill witchcraft murder, so allegedly. So we're just stick here for this. It's going to be a little more lighthearted today, but I'm glad you caught it live, Mandy. You can watch the depressing stuff later. Let's feel good today. Let's have a chuckle, because when isn't murder funny? Oh heavens. This, for those of you that don't know what the hell's going on, this is our Thursday retro trial. We do it every Thursday. We look at an older trial. We did O.J. Simpson for about a year and a half. And for the past couple of months, 10 weeks, this is the 10th week we've been doing it, as a matter of fact. So for the past 9 weeks, we have been doing the Florida v. Donald Hartung trial. You don't have to watch the first 9 to figure out what's going on. It's a simple case. This guy's this guy's 2 half brothers and his mother turned up dead with stab wounds and blunt force trauma to the head. They were last seen on a Tuesday. They were found a few days later, 4 days later, on Friday, locked up in a sealed up Florida home with no air conditioning at the end of July, under some heavy blankets and pillows. So it was a pretty gooey, sticky crime scene. The prosecution's theory is he was upset because one of the brothers had done something to his child. Let's just say that way. One of the brothers, he has one smart brother and one special needs brother. The special needs brother works at Walmart. The allegedly smart brother worked at Walmart, past tense. And the allegedly smart one was an IT specialist for Homeland Security. So he's saying that the special needs one did something to his son, therefore he was angry at that guy, and his mother reportedly cut him out of the will, so he was mad about that, and he couldn't leave the other brother alive to tell tales. That's the prosecution's theory. They haven't really tied any direct evidence to him. They found some cigarette butts, but he was known to go over there every Tuesday. Apparently, the last time he was seen over there was on the Tuesday they disappeared. And there's a nosy neighbor that has a photographic memory that remembers everything that can tell you like what time of day he showed up and all that other stuff. But the only real evidence they have against him is the prison snitch. There was a prison snitch that if you watched the Zachariah Anderson trial and you saw Munch testify, this guy is even less credible than Munch. He claimed that he told him about all these murders and that there was $500,000 in cash he was looking for, and he was going to get it out of the safe, and he was into witchcraft, and that part was correct. He's definitely into witchcraft. They showed video of his home, and it was pretty much witchcraft supply store central. His house, if you're going to do like a mock-up of the witchiest witchcraft house that ever witchcraft, you would design it around his home. So that's really prison snitch, the bitch snitch. See, this is the only real evidence they have so far tying him to the case. But now we've got investigators and the medical examiner next week, and I think that's it for the prosecution. I think the Wiccan priest is the defense witness, but we'll have to wait to see how that pans out. All right, so that's where we are. That's what the deal is. We've currently got 999 viewers and 70 likes, so that's a pretty good number. 30 of you need to get down there and do your job. Hit the like button, people. And we're fighting against this YouTube trend to take away my subscribers. Every we go, it's like we gain 5, we lose 10. We gain 5, we lose 10. We gain 20, we lose 30. The YouTube is just trying to chop away because and I remember Legal Mindset, like, he was right around the 78,000 as well. And it seems like you get to these weird benchmarks like 32,000, 13,000, these weird benchmarks that everybody seems to be put through a struggle session with YouTube subs. And that's kind of where I am. So just make sure you are still subscribed. And if you are not subscribed, please do me the honor of subscribing to the channel. and take our like and subscribe poll. Wow, only 3 of you have cheated. We've got 75 likes and 78 votes. Only 3 of you have cheated. That's great. Thank you very much. Our like and subscribe poll today is Donald Hartung should be found guilty, not guilty, should be found away the same as a duck, and I don't care. I'm just liking and subbing. Those are your lame like and subscribe poll options for today. We'll check in on about an hour from now, and see how things are looking. But for now, without further ado, let's jump on in there, shall we? And pick this up where we left off next week. And oh, by the way, what Janet, are you saying that you would you would out witchcraft central him? I mean, his house had it all. I know you're Wiccan, but I mean he had the what was it, the Wiccan handbook, like how to be a witch 101 or whatever, the Witchcraft for Dummies or whatever that other book was. He had a Baphomet statue. He had incense everywhere. He had candles. He had a couple of wands laying around. He had tarot cards everywhere. He had pentagrams. He had knives. And I believe that mother effer even had a broom in the kitchen. And there was more witchy things he had. I can't remember what all they were, but yeah, they were all laid out and displayed nicely for the for the things. But it was like Witchcraft Central casting, almost like if we wanted to frame someone, this is what we'd make their house look like. But anyway, by the way, if any of you have any questions about Wiccan and witchcraft and whatnot, she's your person to turn to in chat. So let's jump in on it. And again, this is a lighthearted look at murder. I know that sounds really weird, but you'll see what I mean if you haven't watched this before. You'll see what I mean when we get there. But super chats, when they come in, because I know they will, because I have so much faith in it, we'll just read them as they come up. We can stop, we can talk. This isn't like a normal trial where we just keep everything hush hush until we get to a break. And proof of that is Island. I still want justice for the dismembered goose. Yes, there was a goose, a ceramic goose that was dismembered and scattered in various garbage cans throughout the house. We still haven't linked the goose to anything. So the mysterious broken goose is still an issue. Thank you so much for kicking us off, Island, with our first super chat of the evening. $98 away from the emotional support potato pig dog cam. And let's go. We've got that's not the one I wanted. There we go. That's the one I wanted. Ooh, you're the one that I want. But is it really? Is that really the one I want? Or is this the one I want? That's the one I want. This is our defendant, Donald Hartung, who this is like did you ever watch like Peter and the Wolf, or listen to the album, the recording of Peter and the Wolf, where they were talking about how the various instruments would like the flute was Sasha the bird, and the drums, every animal, and I think it was the bassoon was Peter, I believe. But in this trial, for those of you that aren't able to watch and are just listening, you can tell when Donald Hartung is on the stream by his telltale music, which is normally when he has his mouth open. All right, before we get into it, Mandy with the $5, thank you so much. YouTube legit did unsubscribe me from your channel about a month ago. Fuckery about, I'm telling you, they do it. I'm not making this up. People just think it's like, us YouTubers making this shit. No, it happens. I have been unsubscribed from my own channel, so I know perfectly well that it does. The goose is just a McGovern. Yeah, it's going to turn out to be that it was a bobsled all along. the goose is just a MacGuffin. It's a MacGuffin, the MacGuffin, which is just something that seems important that isn't, or vice versa. All right, member for 1 month, Kirk Duster, CRC Duster, member for 1 month. What is your favorite color? That is this a Monty Python joke, or are you actually asking my favorite color? I'm not sure. But let's presume you're actually asking. These days I have like a preference for green and purple these days. I don't know why. But just in case you're actually asking, and it's not a Monty Python question. All right, let's jump into it now. McCoven. Oh, that's nice. There you go. That's good. That's good. I like that one.
All right, we were talking about the rework that you did using this new technology, right?
Yes.
And I think we left off with the hammer near the.
I need a hammer, a hammer, a hammer. Yes, she's going about the house collecting evidence. And wow, that was Mandy's 5th super chat ever, according to a message that popped up on my stream. So thank you very, very much.
The kitchen sink. Which swabs of those did you rework?
I reworked the swabbing that I took of the handle, as well as the swabbing I took of the yellow shaft.
Oh, wow, she swabbed the shaft.
We'll start with the handle.
We're off to a good start. We're 30 seconds in and she's already swabbing a shaft.
What were your results?
I love it when things pan out.
I developed a mixture consistent with 3 donors.
Oh God.
And then I compared.
There's a mixture of 3 donors from the shaft, or is that just the handle? They're talking about the hammer. You know, in all seriousness, they're talking about the hammer and whether the defendant's DNA is found on the hammer.
Compared each of the individuals, and Von Seal was included, and the observed mixed DNA profile is approximately.
So Von Seal is the mother. Her DNA is on the shaft of the hammer. Maybe she was trying to kill him and it was self-defense.
1.9 billion times more likely to occur if the sample originated from Von Seal and 2 unrelated individuals than from 3 unrelated individuals. Richard was also included as a possible contributor. The observed mixed DNA profile is approximately 11 billion times more likely to occur if the sample originated from Richard and 2 unrelated individuals than from 3 unrelated individuals. John was also included as a possible contributor. The observed mixed DNA profile is approximately 53 billion times more likely to occur if the sample originated from John and 2 unrelated individuals than from 3 unrelated individuals.
Okay, so everybody's
Hartung was included as a possible contributor. The observed mixed DNA profile.
So literally everybody in the family's DNA is on the handle of the hammer. So I guess I guess that would be expected. Everybody in the family has touched the hammer at some point.
Files approximately 130,000 times more likely to occur if the sample originated from Donald Hartung and 2 unrelated individuals than from 3 unrelated individuals.
All right. And what about the rework of the swab of the yellow shaft from the hammer?
There, I developed a mixture consistent with 3 donors. Richard was included as a possible contributor. The observed mixed DNA profile is greater than 700 billion times more likely to occur if the sample originated from Richard and 2 unrelated individuals than from 3 unrelated individuals.
And you're saying billion with a B?
Yes, billion, greater than 700 billion times. 700 billion is the cap that FDLE puts on statistics. That's the highest.
See, those are just fantasy numbers. They can't say it's a match because, you know, it's the white crow thing. Just because you haven't seen a white crow doesn't mean a white crow doesn't exist. It's the same thing. Just because the DNA doesn't match someone that you have on file, it doesn't mean there's not another match out there somewhere in the world that somehow has the exact same DNA profile. So because they can't say, oh, it's 100% sure it's him. They have to say, oh, it's 700 billion times more likely it was him than somewhere else. Or now they're up into this was old technology 5 years ago. Now they're up into the quadrillions. It's like 3 quadrillion times. Yeah, this is just made up number shit.
Statistic I can report out. John was also included as a possible contributor. The observed mixed DNA profile is greater than 700 billion times more likely to occur if the sample originated from John and 2 unrelated people than 3 unrelated people. The comparison of the profiles for Von Seal and Donald Hartung to the mixture failed to demonstrate sufficient statistical support for inclusion or exclusion.
Does that mean there's not enough there?
Essentially, the statistic fell into what is called the inconclusive zone. The inconclusive zone was determined by FBLE through validations and performance checks so that I could have a range where there wouldn't possibly be a false inclusion or a false exclusion. So for a 3-person mixture, our inconclusion zone is 0.0001 to 10,000. So if the statistic that's generated falls between those numbers, the person goes into the inconclusive zone. So they potentially, they do have a statistic associated with it, but we don't report it out because it could be slightly off. And we want to make sure if it's out of that range, we know the person is truly included or excluded.
So the takeaway from all of this is that 3 people's DNA was found on the shaft.
Hey, phrasing!
All right. Did you rework the swabs that the Escambia County Sheriff's Office did of the hammer?
I did.
And what were your results there?
I developed a mixture consistent with 3 individuals. Von Seal was included as a possible contributor. The observed mixed DNA profile is greater than 700 billion times more likely to occur if the sample originated from Von Seal and 2 unrelated individuals than 3 unrelated individuals. Richard was included as a possible contributor. The observed mixed DNA profile is approximately 1.9 million times more likely to occur if the sample originated from Richard and 2 unrelated individuals than 3 unrelated individuals. John was included as a possible contributor as well. The observed mixed DNA profile is greater than 700 billion times more likely to occur if the sample originated from John and 2 unrelated individuals than 3 unrelated individuals. And Donald Hartung was included as a possible contributor. The observed mixed DNA profile is approximately 9.7 million times more likely to occur if the sample originated from Donald Hartung and 2 unrelated individuals than 3 unrelated individuals.
Did you receive swabs from the webcam from the garbage?
So I'm trying to, I'm playing with my own shaft here.
Your results there.
My pipe shaft.
I developed very limited
phrasing.
data. It was insufficient for inclusion, but suitable for exclusion. And Von Seal, John, and Donald can either be included or excluded, where Richard was excluded.
And did you rework those?
I did.
And your results on the rework?
The rework actually gave me less markers than the original, and it was not interpretable.
Did you receive swabs from the back of Richard's belt?
Ooh, sausage.
Yes.
And did you test that for blood?
Yes, I did. And it gave chemical indications for the presence of blood.
And did you develop a DNA profile?
Yes.
And your results?
I developed a mixture of at least 2. I assumed Richard was on his own belt, as you would expect to find him. And I developed a foreign that was not interpretable. There was too little DNA to compare.
Okay, so shocking news
Did you
there.
receive
that
swabs
Richard's
from the
DNA
left
was on Richard's
pocket
belt.
of Richard's pants?
Yes.
And your results there?
I developed a mixture of at least 2. Again, I assumed Richard would be on the pocket of his own pants. There was a foreign that was insufficient for inclusion, but suitable for exclusion. And Von Seal, John, and Donald Hartung were excluded.
Did you, in your medical examiner kit for Von Seal, did you receive swabs from her fingernails?
I received her actual fingernail clippings and I swapped them.
Okay, and did you develop anything foreign?
And then she made a pillow out of the fingernail clippings.
What about the fingernail clippings of Richard?
Which I did know a guy when I was a missionary here in Korea. He sent his girlfriend a small pillow that he made from his finger and toenail clippings and belly button lint that he'd collected over a lengthy period of time. It was one of the sickest things I've ever seen in my life. I'm surprised he hasn't been up on murder charges yet.
I did not develop anything foreign to Richard on his fingernails.
And what about John?
No, there was nothing foreign to John on his fingernails.
Did you receive swabs from the bracelet, the left wrist of Von Seal?
Yes.
And did you test that for blood?
Yes.
Your result?
It gave chemical indications for the presence of blood.
And your DNA analysis, did you find anything foreign?
No, there was nothing foreign to Von Seal on her bracelet.
Did you receive a kitchen sink handle?
Yes.
And what did you do when you got that in?
I divided up the pieces of the handle that were there. I took there was like a silver screw that looked like it probably held it on. I swabbed that. I swabbed, there appeared to be suspected blood on the handle, so I swabbed that on a separate swab. And then I tried to swab the white area of the handle, avoiding the suspected blood.
And did you develop any DNA profiles there?
Yes.
And your results?
On the screw that appears to hold the handle on, that failed to give chemical indications for the presence of blood. And the DNA profile I developed was a mixture of at least 3. Because it was their kitchen sink handle, I assumed that Von Seal, Richard, and John were already going to be on that handle.
Well, the kitchen sink hand, you should assume that Donald Hartung's DNA is going to be on there too, because he would come every Tuesday to make them dinner. And I would assume, being as OCD clean as he was, he would probably wash the dishes after. So, yeah, I mean, that would be a safe assumption to make. But guess what? He's going, we didn't expect it, but we found his DNA there. Been there, done that. Says, what is that tool you were using with your pipe? Does it light the tobacco or just push it down? It does not light. This is a thing they called a check tool, like Czechoslovakia check tool, like the CZECH check tool. It's a little 3-in-1 tool. It has a tamper that tamps the tobacco down. You just tamp it down, like that. It has a little poker tool that you can use to like poke a hole, like an air hole in it, and then it has a little scoop you can use to scoop out the burnt ashes at the end.
And then I developed a foreign. Escambia County Sheriff's Office, Sergeant Rusty Bjornson could not be excluded from that foreign, and therefore I did not compare it to anybody else.
Can you have DNA in your sweat?
Yes, there would probably be a fair amount.
Yeah,
What
duh.
about the blood on the handle?
The suspected blood did give chemical indications for the presence of blood, and I developed a complete DNA profile that matched Von Seal.
And what about the actual kitchen sink handle?
I have developed a mixture of at least 2. I developed a complete major that matched Von Seal as well, and the minor was not interpretable.
Did you receive
Never
Swiss Army
interpret a
fabric
minor.
case
Leave the
from
minors
kitchen
alone.
counter?
Yes.
And what'd you do with that when you got it?
There appeared to be suspected blood on it, so I tested that, and it did give chemical indications for the presence of blood. So I took a swabbing of the suspected blood from the back corner. I also took a swabbing of the zippers to get into the pockets. I swabbed the inside of the opening of the pockets.
Ooh.
And I swabbed the outside of the case, trying to avoid the suspected blood.
All right, the zipper from the case, did you test that for blood?
Yes, I did, and it gave chemical indications for the presence of blood.
And did you develop a DNA profile there?
Yes.
What were your results there?
Assuming 2 donors to.
I need to see if we can move the closed captions. Can we move them? Edge style, font style, opaque, transparent. No, there is no location stream for these. Dang it. That makes me grumpy. All right. Well, shoot. My little scroll bar covers the, because on YouTube you can just like click on them and change the deal, but this is on Court TV's homepage, so we don't get all the YouTube technology. So I guess we can't have our scrolling banner on because we have our closed captioning on. This is the hoarder-like home of the victims, and there's the hammer back there.
These zippers, and that Richard is a donor, given that I was told that it was his case. A partial
Cool.
foreign was obtained, and that partial foreign matched Donald Hartung.
If Mandy, if you're a pipe smoker, you're the coolest person ever. Just saying.
What about the inside pockets of the case?
There, I developed a mixture of at least 3. Again, I assumed Richard was one of those contributors. The foreign results were insufficient for inclusion, but suitable for exclusion. Von Seal and John could not be included or excluded, and Donald Hartung was excluded.
What do you mean they couldn't be included or excluded?
What about the outside of the case swab?
That gave chemical indications for the
Well, this is a Scarlett. This is allegedly where they're tying him to the murder. His DNA is on the handle of the hammer. His DNA is on the shaft of the hammer. All the victim's blood are on the head of the hammer. His DNA is on the kitchen sink, etc., etc., etc.
the presence of blood. And then I developed a mixture of at least 3 individuals. Again, I assumed Richard was one of them. Foreign results that were insufficient for inclusion but suitable for exclusion were obtained.
No, it's his mother and his 2 half brothers. He
John
lives
and Donald
separately.
Hartung could not be included or excluded.
But he goes over to their house to cook them dinner he went every Tuesday to cook them dinner.
Did you receive swabs from the Swiss Army case?
Yes, I did.
And your results there?
They failed to give chemical indications for the presence of blood, and I developed a mixture of at least 3 individuals, again, assuming Richard was one of those. Foreign results that were insufficient for inclusion but suitable for exclusion were obtained. And Von Seal, John, and Donald Hartung could not be included or excluded.
Every time she says just obtained, it sounds like she's saying
And
obtained.
did you receive swabs of blood from the Swiss Army case?
Yes.
Go to thedragonstreasure.com and get yourself some tea. Use code VICES for 10% off.
For the presence of blood, I developed a complete DNA profile that matched Richard Smith.
Oh, there's a little bit
And
of blood.
when you did a swab of the back corner, blood from the back corner of the case, did you develop a DNA profile there?
Yes.
And your results?
Again, it was a complete DNA profile that matched Richard Smith.
Now, were any of these swabs from the case reworked?
Yes.
Okay. Let's start. What's the first one you reworked?
The swabbing I took of the zippers.
Okay. And your
You can
results
swab my
when you
zipper,
reran it
little
with the new
lady.
stuff.
I developed a mixture consistent with 2 donors, and then Richard, again, was expected to be a donor. And Donald Hartung was included as a possible contributor.
Okay.
The observed mixed DNA profile is greater than 700 billion times more likely to occur if the sample originated from Richard Smith and Donald Hartung than from Richard Smith and an unrelated individual. The Von Seal and John were excluded.
Did you rework the swabs of the outside of the Swiss Army case?
Yes.
And your results there?
I developed a mixture consistent with 3 donors. Again, Richard was expected to be one of those donors. Von Seal was included as a possible contributor. The observed mixed DNA profile was greater than 700 billion times more likely to occur if the sample originated from Richard Smith and Von Seal Smith than from, and one unrelated individual than from Richard Smith and 2 unrelated individuals. Donald Hartung was also included as a possible contributor. The observed mixed DNA profile is approximately 590,000 times more likely to occur if the sample originated from Richard Smith, Donald Hartung, and 1 unrelated individual than from Richard Smith and 2 unrelated individuals. And comparison of the profile to John Smith failed to demonstrate statistical support for inclusion or exclusion.
Did you rework the?
She's
swabs
doing it
from the Swiss Army
again.
case?
Yes, I did.
We're sad about that, Jonathan Irwin. At least I'm sad about that. But we have the replay crew. Hopefully you'll do that. But she does this thing where she started to do it last week, and now she didn't. She stopped doing it, but she's doing it again, where she'll answer the question and go at the end. It's weird. His name is Hartung, Hartung. So yeah, she's like at the end. It's really weird.
And your results there?
It demonstrated demonstrated a mixture. If you assumed two contributors to the mixture, which I did because the profile itself looked like two people, if you just looked at the graph that comes off, then everybody was excluded. Von Seal, John, Donald, and Donald. However, if you compared them manually to the mixture, it didn't look like they should be excluded. So I also ran it through assuming three people to the mixture. And when I did that, Von Seal was included as a possible contributor. The observed mixed DNA profile is greater than 700 billion times more likely to occur if the sample originated
Jonathan
from
Irwin,
Richard
it's good to be
Smith,
back to
Von
school,
Seal-
but
Von Seal Smith,
damn it,
and
I'm
one
going to miss your
unrelated
pipe
individual, then
profile
from
picture
Richard
there in
Smith and
chat.
two unrelated individuals. Donald Hartung was also included as a possible contributor. The observed mixed DNA profile is approximately 21 billion times more likely to occur if the
21
sample originated from Richard Smith, Donald Hartung, and one unrelated individual than from Richard Smith and two unrelated individuals. And the comparison to John Smith still failed to demonstrate sufficient statistical support for inclusion or exclusion.
Did you receive swabs from the BlackBerry case in the garbage?
Yes.
Did you test it for blood?
Yes, it gave chemical indications for the presence of blood.
And your results from your analysis?
I developed a mixture of at least two. Again, I was told the BlackBerry phone belonged to Richard, so I assumed Richard was there. And the foreign was insufficient for inclusion, but suitable for exclusion. And Von Seal and John could not be included or excluded. Donald Hartung was excluded.
Okay, and when you say you assume Richard, was Richard's DNA there?
Yes.
Yes, it was.
Did you receive swabs from a webcam?
Yes.
And did you test that for blood?
Yes, it gave chemical indications for the presence of blood.
And your DNA analysis?
I developed a complete DNA profile that matched Von Seal.
Yeah, well, you know,
Did you
that's
receive
just
swabs
like
from a coffee table?
your opinion, man.
Yes.
Did you test it for blood?
Yes, it was negative for blood.
And your DNA analysis there?
I developed a mixture of at least three. Since it was their coffee table, I assumed that Von Seal, Richard, and John were contributors. There was foreign that wasn't interpretable.
All right, did you later receive items from Donald Hartung's house?
Yes.
All right. Did you receive brown shoes of Donald Hartung?
Yes.
And did you test that for blood?
Yes.
Your results?
It was negative. There was no indication of blood.
Did you receive a wood handle hammer on top of the from top of the microwave?
I did.
Did you test that for blood?
Yes, it was negative.
What about a possible hair from the wooden hammer?
Yes.
And did you do any work on that?
Yes, I examined the hair for suitability to run it through DNA. Hairs have to have a root and they have to be in a certain phase of growth for me to get DNA out of them. And that phase is like the active growing phase. Normally your hair will switch from the active growing phase to the non-growing phase, and then it just falls out naturally on its own, which is why, you get hair in your hairbrushes and in your bathroom floors. And this particular hair was in that phase, the non-growing phase, where I couldn't obtain the DNA.
Did you receive 2 small area rugs from the bedroom floor?
Yes.
What did you do with those items?
I first tested them for blood. One of the rugs gave chemical indications for the presence of blood, and the other one was inconclusive for the presence of blood. And I divided the rug like in fourths or 4 quadrants, and I swabbed each quadrant separately for DNA.
Can you, when you're looking at the blood samples, can you tell the difference in animal blood and human blood?
No.
Okay. When you're testing DNA, can you tell the difference between animal DNA and human DNA?
Animal DNA will not work with our amplification kits that we use. It's higher primate specific.
Higher primate, us and monkeys.
All right. In the swab of rug 1, what was your DNA analysis?
The first swab I took was a mixture of at least 2. I assumed Donald Hartung was on it because they were his rugs. There was 4 and not interpretable.
Well, while he's gaping open mouth like some wide mouth bass. By the way, when I was playing this clip,
Yes, Nosferatu.
I remembered that there is a new version of the movie Nosferatu coming out or at Christmas. But I mean, what a great Christmas movie that is. Certainly not a Halloween movie, but it's coming out in Christmas this year. But the director, it's going to be good. It's going to be good because the director of the new Nosferatu is the same guy that did The Lighthouse, The Witch, The Northman. So it's in good hands. It's in good hands. It's going to be coming out, it looks like, in Christmas of this year. So that'll be cool. Who's starring in it? Emma Corrin, Anna Taylor-Johnson. Oh, Aaron Taylor-Johnson. And Willem Dafoe's in it. I remember him from the preview. Willem Dafoe, he plays like one of the head guys. Oh, Bill Skarsgård is in. He's Count Orlok. Willem Dafoe plays Professor Albin Eberhard von Franz. But yeah, to celebrate the birth of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, we will be having the movie Nosferatu to watch.
And Rogue 2.
The other swabs I took of Rogue One.
Oh, Lily
there was
Rose
no
Depp is in it
Donald
too. She plays Ellen Hutter. So Johnny Depp's daughter's in it. Willem Dafoe, Bill Skarsgård. Sounds pretty dang good.
Hartung. Rug 2. One of the swabs I took, there was a mixture of at least two, assuming Donald Hartung. The form was not interpretable, and
more fishy than you might
no
expect. I think he came from Lovecraft's.
Did you receive swabs of suspected
Innsmouth
blood from the
Village.
bedroom floor?
Yes.
And did you test that for blood?
Yes.
Your result?
It was negative, so I didn't run DNA.
What about swabs of suspected blood on the living room floor?
It was negative for the presence of blood, so I didn't run DNA.
And swabs suspected blood.
So the blood on the
bathroom
floor
toilet.
wasn't blood.
That was again negative for the chemical indications for blood, so I didn't run DNA.
All right, next, where are we at? September.
The prosecutor sounds so bored. She's bored. The prosecutor's bored. Dude here is bored. Everybody's bored. I mean, God, when the prosecutor's like, all right, next. Let's go on to the next. Everybody's bored. Move it along here, Chief.
2015 now?
Yes.
Okay. What items did you receive then?
Spiders.
I received swabs from a webcam cord from the garbage can, swabs from the bottom of a sofa cushion, the black belt from Richard Smith,
I have not
swabs
seen
from
that
hangers
Fox
on Von Seal Smith, swabs from hangers on John Smith, swabs from a brown purse from the garbage can, swabs from a black purse in the garbage can, swabs from a green wallet in the garbage can. I received the black purse from the garbage can, a brown purse from the garbage can, and the wallet from the garbage can.
All right, let's start with the swabbing of rug 1 from the bedroom floor. Additional testing.
Oh, let me start with that one. Sorry.
Let's start with that
I
one.
jumped ahead.
Yeah. What the fuck was that?
So one of the samples, I went back and concentrated it down further.
That watch is way too big for her wrist.
Essentially, the DNA is in a liquid, and you're only allowed to amplify so much of it at a time. So if you concentrate the DNA down, you get more DNA in the sample, which is what I did to rework it.
So it's like pinch and zoom for DNA.
And my results demonstrated the presence of a mixture of at least two individuals. Again, I assumed Donald Hartung was there. And foreign DNA results were obtained. And due to the limited nature of the results, it was insufficient for inclusion but suitable for exclusion. Von Seal and Richard can neither be included nor excluded. John Smith was excluded.
All right, now swabs from the webcam.
She's like the
cord in
female
garage.
Sling Blade.
Test it for blood.
She's like Sling Blade. She's like, at the end of everything. And his blood was on it. She's just at the end of everything.
I did, and it gave chemical indications for the presence of blood.
And did you develop a DNA profile?
Yes, there was a partial DNA profile developed that matched Von Seal.
What about swabs from the bottom of the sofa cushion?
Yes, I developed a mixture of at least 3. And then again, I assumed Von Seal, Richard, and John would be on their own sofa cushion. There was foreign to them that was insufficient for inclusion but suitable for exclusion, and Donald Hartung was excluded.
Okay, so
All right, the black
his
belt
DNA is
from
not on
Richard. What did you do with that
cushions.
when you received it?
I noticed that it had red-brown staining on it, so I checked it for the presence of blood, and it gave chemical indications for the presence of blood. I then took a swabbing of the inside, back, and the sides of the belt.
The swabs from the interior of the belt, did you test it for blood?
The swab itself, yes, and it gave chemical indications for presence of blood.
Thank you,
were
Roy.
able to
Appreciate it.
develop a DNA profile from the interior of the belt.
Yes.
And what were your results?
I developed a mixture of at least 3, assuming Richard is one of those people since it's his belt. Foreign was insufficient for inclusion but suitable for exclusion. John and Donald could not be included or excluded. Von Seal was excluded.
Now, did you rework the swabs from the interior of the belt?
Yes, I reworked the ones that I took of the belt.
And your results?
I got a mixture of 2 donors. Again, Richard is an expected donor. Donald Hartung was included as a possible contributor. The observed mixed DNA profile is approximately 1.1 billion times more likely to occur if the sample originated from Richard Smith and Donald Hartung than from Richard Smith and an unrelated individual.
They're coming to get
And then
you,
Von Seal
Barbara.
and John were excluded from that one.
Now, your swabs from the hangers on Von Seal, did you test that for blood?
Yes, it was negative for blood.
Did you develop any DNA profile there?
Yes, I developed a mixture of at least 2. I developed a complete major profile. That
Everybody is
matched Von
so
Seal.
bored. She's
The minor
leaning
was
on her
insufficient
elbow.
for inclusion, but suitable
Prosecutor's
for exclusion. Richard and John
This is
cannot
so
be
bad.
included or excluded. Donald Hartung was excluded.
What about the swabs from the hangers on John?
I
Why were there
tested that for
hangers
blood,
on the
and it was
body?
negative as well. The results were limited, so they were insufficient for inclusion, but suitable for exclusion. Von Seal, Richard, and John could not be included or excluded. Donald Hartung was excluded.
Why are you telling us what his DNA isn't on? Was it on the what? His DNA wasn't on the salt shakers, was it? His DNA wasn't on the ceiling fan, was it? Why is she spending so much time telling us what his DNA is not on? Tell us what it was found on and say it wasn't found on anything else that was tested.
Swabs from the brown purse in the garbage.
Yes, I ran the DNA profile, and I was told that it was Von Seal's purse, so I assumed she was there, and there was nothing foreign to Von Seal.
And
What
again,
about
Von
swabs
is
from the
defendant's
black
mother.
purse in the kitchen garbage.
That one I tested for blood, and it gave chemical indications for the presence of blood. It was a mixture of at least 2 developed. I assumed Von Seal was one of them.
And Arian, the vegetarian, is a new member of the clean and sober crew. You get a zombie for that. I love how Arian is always trying to get everybody to pronounce her name correctly. So this time she's like, Arian, the vegetarian, like the same Arian. I just love the various ways she changes her name to get people to pronounce her right. Good to see you, Arian. We had a lot of fun. She was part of the meetup in Salt Lake City. We had a great time. It was fun.
And the foreign was not interpretable.
And swabs from the green wallet in the kitchen garbage.
That one also gave chemical indications for the presence of blood. I developed a mixture of at least 2. I assumed Von Seal was one of them. The foreign was not interpretable.
Now, you stated that you actually received the black purse from the garbage can?
Yes.
The curse of the black
What did you
purse.
do with that when you received it?
Arr.
I noticed that it had red-brown staining on it, so I checked it for blood, and it gave chemical indications for the presence of blood. I then took some different swabbings. I swabbed the inside opening.
Come on, your
I
son
swabbed the
Homeland
handle.
Security. He can buy you a better person.
I
than that.
swabbed the snap or
Unless
latch
that was his.
that holds it closed. And I swabbed the suspected blood next to the opening.
All right, let's start with the swab from the inside opening. Was it positive or negative for blood?
It was positive.
Can't live without
And were you able to develop a DNA profile?
Yes. Developed a mixture. Again, I assumed Von Seal was there since it was her purse.
You're my stars
And there was foreign that was insufficient for inclusion but suitable for exclusion. Richard, John, and Donald could not be included or excluded.
Now, when you say assume Von Seal, did you see her DNA there?
Yes, her DNA was there.
All right, what about the swabbing from the handle? Did you test that for blood?
Yes, it gave chemical indications for the presence of blood.
And did you develop a profile there?
Yes, developed a mixture of at least 3. Again, assuming Von Seal is one of them. The foreign major or minor cannot be determined. Richard and Donald were included as possible contributors. John was excluded.
What about the swabbing from the snap latch? Did you test that for blood?
Yes, it gave chemical indications for the presence of blood.
And your analysis?
There's a mixture of at least 2. I developed a complete major profile. That major profile matched Donald Hartung. The minor was not interpretable.
And the swabbing of suspected blood next to the opening?
That gave chemical indications for the presence of blood. I developed a complete DNA profile that matched Von Seal.
Now, any of those swabs that you took, did you rework any of those?
Yes.
Which ones did you rework?
I reworked the swabbing of the inside opening and the swabbing of the handle.
And your results from the inside opening?
Always get a good
I've
swab of the inside
developed,
opening.
I got limited foreign
phrasing.
to Von Seal that was not interpretable.
And the swabbing from the handle?
Is he going to talk about the shaft again?
Again, I had to assume 2 donors and assume 3 donors. Assuming 2 donors, all of them were excluded. Assuming the mixture has 3 donors and that Von Seal is a contributor, then Donald Hartung was included as a possible contributor. And the observed mixed DNA profile is greater than 700
this is so
billion
thrilling.
times more likely to occur if this sample originated from Von Seal and Donald and 1 unrelated individual than from Von Seal and 2 unrelated individuals.
And that was billion with a B?
Yes, greater than 700.
See, I would like to skip this. I mean, she is on the stand for about another hour and a half. I would like to skip this, but the next sentence out of her mouth might be, and Donald Hartung's DNA was found inside the wounds on the body or something like that. You know, it's going to definitely tie him to these murders. I can't speed it up. I wish I could, KD, but this is on the Court TV site. They don't have a speed up option, unfortunately.
Billion. And then Richard and John are in that inconclusive zone. There was no statistical support for inclusion or exclusion.
All right. You stated that you received the actual brown purse from the garbage can.
Yes.
What did you do with that?
I first checked it for the presence of blood, and it gave chemical indications for the presence of blood. I then took swabbings from the inside opening, swabbing of the zipper, swabbing of the strap, and swabbing of suspected blood near the opening.
All right, let's start with the inside opening. Did you test for blood?
Yes, it was negative.
And your DNA analysis?
I developed a mixture, or assuming 2 people to the mixture, and that Von Seal is one of those contributors. I developed a complete foreign that matched Richard.
The assuming is being done
from the zipper.
is she's assuming their
That one
DNA
failed to
is
give
going to be
chemical
on it, and she
indications for
tests
blood
it,
as
and
well.
her assumption
I
was found
developed a
correct.
mixture of at least 2, assuming Von Seal is a contributor.
They're just assuming she's a contributor, so they test it, and yes, Von Seal's DNA is found on it, et cetera, et cetera.
The foreign was not interpretable.
And swabbing from the strap.
That one gave chemical indications
Don't
for the
swab the
presence of
strap.
blood. I developed a mixture of at least 3. Assuming Von Seal is one of those contributors, I developed a partial foreign major that matched Richard.
And the swabbing of suspected blood next to the opening.
That was just a complete DNA profile that matched Von Seal.
Stop doing
And
that.
the green wallet from the garbage. What did you do with that?
I first checked it for the presence of blood, which it gave chemical indications for the presence of blood.
Ooh, we've got blood.
I then took a swabbing of suspected blood from the left edge, a swabbing of the edges of the outer flaps.
Oh, now she's edging.
Swabbing of the internal zipper.
She's edging the
swabbing
zipper.
of the internal flap edge.
Oh,
and
she's edging the
swabbing
flaps.
of the inside cache pocket opening.
Oh, she's in the. Oh.
All right, the swab from blood from the edge. Did you test that for blood?
Yes, it was positive.
And did you develop a DNA profile?
Yes, a complete DNA profile that matched Von Seal.
What about the edge of the outer flaps?
It gave chemical indications. For
Stop
the
saying
presence of
outer
blood.
flaps.
I developed a mixture of at least 2. Assumed Von Seal was one of those 2. The foreign was not interpretable.
What about the swab of internal zipper?
That gave chemical indications for the presence of blood. I developed a complete DNA profile that matched Von Seal.
And the swab of the edge internal flap.
Hey, phrasing!
That gave chemical indications for the presence of blood. There's a mixture of at least 2. Assuming Von Seal is one of them, the foreign was insufficient for inclusion but suitable for exclusion.
Stop swabbing Von Seal's inner
Richard,
flaps.
John, and Donald could not be included or excluded.
And the swab of the cache pocket opening.
That gave chemical indications for the presence of blood. I developed a complete profile that matched Von Seal.
Phrasing?
All right, next, did you receive swabs from Oakley glasses in the garbage?
Yes.
Did you test it for blood?
Yes, it gave chemical indications for the presence of blood.
And did you develop a DNA profile?
Yes, there was a complete DNA profile that matched Von Seal.
What about swabs from black rim glasses in the garbage? Did you test it for blood?
Yes, it was negative.
Did you develop a DNA profile?
Yes, there was a complete DNA profile that matched Richard.
Did you receive a piece of floor trim from the garbage?
Yes.
Now she's.
What did you do with that?
God, we've
I took swabbing of
swabbed
the
the
edges,
outer flaps,
and
the inner
I did
flaps.
a dry
We're
swabbing
swabbing
of
the
back.
trim.
That
We've
means I didn't
swabbed
wet
the
the swab
shaft.
first
God
because
damn it.
the
Stop
piece
this.
of floor trim was going to
I'm gonna get
transfer to
age-gated
the latent
here.
print section, and I didn't want to mess up any of their testing.
All right. The swab of the edges, did you test that for blood?
Yes, it was negative.
Did you develop a DNA profile?
I got limited data that was insufficient for
Oh
inclusion.
my God,
but
I
suitable
want
for
to skip this so
exclusion.
bad.
And Von Seal, Richard, and John could not be.
All right, I'm going to do a flash poll here. We've got 119 people here. Like 20 people have said, "Fuck this, I'm out." It's boring as hell. We're going to do a flash poll here in chat. Knowing that skipping could potentially skip some very important DNA evidence tying Donald Hartung to the murder or excluding him from the murder. Knowing that we could miss some very important DNA results. 1, if you want to skip into cross-examination, or 2, if you want to just plow through it. 1 in chat if you want to skip, 2 if you want to just continue with this. Morgan Brown, just fucking who cares? I'm sure we'll be mentioned in closing. Skip it. We can't speed it up. It's on Court TV's site, and they don't have a speed up option. If it was YouTube, we could do it. But we can't do a speed adjustment here, unfortunately. All right, there's not a single. Oh, there is one too. Hell-Raising Angel is the only 2. So there you go. All right, so we'll go ahead here to. I'm gonna try to guess where cross-examination happens. Let's see here. Oh, that's not cross-examination. What is that? Oh God, hammer handle. Donald Hartung, Von Seal. Okay, this is their DNA numbers.
In that sample.
Yes.
but your results said it was 3 people.
Okay, there we go. Now we're on
Because
cross-examination.
it would involve too many or more in these mixtures that are like the one where I assume 2 and then assume 3. It's more likely that 3 is correct.
Designate the number of DNA.
All right.
Location efficiency, because some
The allele chart.
All right.
You're giving enough information.
So it looks like the defense is going to be bringing up what some of you have been saying. What's with all this assuming stuff that's going on? King Kong Bundy demands 5. Who's King Kong Bundy? Nobody here looks like King Kong Bundy.
To where
Rip
you can
King Kong
decipher,
Bundy, man.
even though they're related, that this is Donald Hartung, this is Richard Smith, this is John Smith.
Yes, I mean, they each have 7 to 9 or 10 markers that are individual to them that they don't share with their brother or their mother. So they, you can tell them apart, especially when it's a single profile. It's the problem gets when they start mixing
Mandy.
together.
Why doesn't she just testify
you
what
end
his
up with
DNA
more
was found
options
on?
in the mixture that it could make somebody look like they're there.
And there's no indication based on your data and your analysis that there's any identical twins there.
No, the John, Richard, and Donald are definitely not identical twins.
Thank you. That's all, Your Honor.
All right, here we
Now,
go.
You originally used one software program.
Oh, yes.
And then changed to a.
We have Agra here in court.
Is it Strymix?
STR mix is how we say it.
STR mix?
Yes.
Now, what was the difference between it and the, was it global filler?
Globofiler is the amplification.
Dude,
the new
know the
amplification
terms, for
kit that
God's
has 21
sake.
markers.
Pretend
The
you
previous
care.
statistic program was called PopStats. And the difference is it uses a different type of program it utilizes more information. So the old way, you literally just put in the numbers and it took the frequencies for each of the markers and put it in an equation and gave you the end result. Then the new way, it actually takes into account other aspects of the DNA process. It can take into account amplification efficiency because some markers amplify better than other markers. It takes into account the something called dropout. If you have a low-level DNA profile, then certain peaks may drop out and you don't see them. It'll account for that where the old software didn't.
Okay, in the old software, you used 50 markers, and now you're down to 21 markers. Is that correct?
15 originally.
15.
Went up
I'm
to
sorry,
21.
I thought you said 50. I apologize.
Uh-oh. Dude, this guy's like, this guy's blown it. He doesn't know the terms for everything. It's like, yeah, before you used 50 markers. Now you're tying in with 20 markers. Like, well, no, actually, it used to be 15, but now we've tied in with more than that. We've tied in with 20 markers. Dude, you're not helping. You're making it worse.
Okay, now
You're making it worse.
you still have to designate the number of DNA of donors to the DNA. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you determine how many donors, not the software.
Correct.
And you input that information into the software program.
Yes.
Okay. And if you don't, do you get different results depending on how many donors you put in?
It can be different.
And the reason I ask you that on some of the results, I think you said you used 2 donors. Other times you said you used 3.
Yes.
Why do you switch around like that?
I used the 2 because the profile itself looked like 2. There was no indication of a third person if you just look at the data.
Like 2.
But then when I actually compare, because I do a manual comparison as well and don't depend totally on the software, I would look at each person, Von Seal, Richard, John, Donald, and they look like they should be there. And in a lot of cases, it was stuff from their house. You would expect at least Von Seal, John, or Richard, one of them to be there. So, but they were all being excluded. So when I did that, I realized that the number of contributors may be incorrect. Even though the profile looks like 2, it might be 3 because they're related. And the sharing is making it throw the number off. So that's why I ran it again as 3.
So in other words, if you didn't get the results you wanted, you went to manual.
Ooh.
I always manually compare before I use the software.
He's got
So
some good
the
questions.
software can give you a different result than your manual.
It is possible.
So which one do we believe?
Well, I can't tell the software that they're related. That's
He's a bumbling fool here, but he's asking some very good questions. So how do we know how many people are contributing to it? You're just assuming that. And the manual results are sometimes different than the computer results. Which one do we believe? Good questions.
not an option I can put in there. So the software is seeing the profile without the knowledge that they're related. So it's more likely that there's 3 people or more in these mixtures that are like the one where I assume 2 and then assume 3. It's more likely that 3 is correct because the software doesn't know that they're related.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
On this new
Wait a minute.
STR mix, the new program, you can't tell that program that you have related DNA?
No, there's not like a box where I can put in that all these people are related to each other.
How about on your old software that you used? Were you able to put in that they were related in that?
No.
So you can never tell the software that the DNA samplings are related.
There is a way to figure out a related statistic, meaning just the frequencies. They change the end result number, but not that I'm aware of that you can enter that it's related. But you can use a related statistic on the inside or the end of the program when it gives a result. But FDLE has not performance checked or validated that, and I don't have that option.
So you can't put in there that they're
Everything that
related.
guy just said is bullshit.
Although
Thank you.
you can do it, you're not doing it with FDLE.
Yes, FDLE does not have a procedure for it.
And when you say they don't have a procedure, are they saying that the software is defective or that they're just not using that procedure?
They're just not using that part of the software that will give a related statistic. It gives, the reason I was given was because it would involve too many
The reason you were
variables that were too
given,
hard to determine.
you
you
don't
had to
know.
enter the number of children, average children per household, and things such as that. And there wasn't really good data to determine that.
So
Wow.
that part of the program, FDLE has determined part of the program is defective or not useful.
I'm unfamiliar with that part of the program. I was never trained on it, so I would not say it's defective or not useful. I'm just saying we don't use it.
So you're not using full, all of the available programming that the program gives you, you're not using.
Yes, the program does things that we don't use.
And you don't know what the results would be if you used all the available soft variables in that program.
I do not.
And that could change it.
It could change the number, yes.
It's
And
an
that's
Aussie Overload
significant.
raid. Welcome,
Well, it's
Aussie
unlikely that
Overloaders.
it would change them from included to excluded, but the statistic might not be as high. Like the greater than 700 billion may go down, or the 1.9 million may go down.
Or the 10,000 or 100,000 may go down.
Yes,
Ooh.
So in other words, it would change your results.
yes, the number.
And you don't know if it would change anything else on the inclusion or exclusion because you just don't know.
I haven't run it, so yes, I don't know.
Okay, let me refer you to the Exhibit 22A, the hammer we're talking
Are
about.
we going to talk about the shaft again?
Do you have that?
Yes,
Okay. When I read your report, you said that you were swabbing the black handle of the hammer. And on your report, you included 4 different people into that sample, but then you said it was 3 people. Is that right? Or am I misunderstanding?
no, I again put a mixture of 3 into the STR mix program because the profile looks like 3. But again, I can't tell them they're related. So that's probably why the 4 people are included. But the program works because I compare each person individually. So I put the mixture profile in the program, and then I would put like Von Seal's profile in the program, and they would run against each other. And it tells me how likely it is that she's included into that mixture. Then separate run all together. I put the mixture in again, then I run John, and then I run Richard, so on separately. So it's never, I'm not saying that 3 certain people are in that profile. I'm saying that each individual person could be included into that profile, and I give the number on how likely that is.
Well, you included 4 people in that sample,
Yes,
but your results said it was 3 people.
but like I said, all 4 could be included. I'm not telling you that it's 3 of those 4 specifically. I can't.
She's nervous and she doesn't know how the program works. She's just told to put numbers into it and push go, apparently. She does that thing because she's nervous. She's getting caught here. She's getting caught with her proverbial pants down. She doesn't know why the software does what it does. She doesn't know this is good. This is good cross-examination.
I deconvolute the mixture down to say that it's definitely these 3 people. It just looks at the overall profile and then compares it to the known. So all 4 of those people could be included into the mixture, and especially because they're related. There may really be 4 people in the mixture, but STR mix doesn't see it that way. It sees it as 3 people.
But you're reporting 3 people, but it could be 4 people is what you're telling me.
In the case of related individuals, yes, it could be 4 individuals.
Because your calculation was for unrelated individuals, but since they're related, it can give you a different result.
The unrelated actually refers to the database that's used. The database, they collected a number of samples from random individuals and they ran their DNA profiles. So then they counted the number of times they saw each allele type. So, like, well, we saw, 10 11s here and 5 12s there. And they came up with a frequency for the different DNA alleles at all the different markers. And those people that they used for the sampling were unrelated. So the number that it spits out is for unrelated people.
But there's a difference between unrelated and related.
And yes.
My next question would be, you don't really know what you're talking about, do you? That would be my next question.
DNA.
And
see, she's nervous. That's a nervous tick she has. She's doing it so much more under cross-examination than she is during direct examination.
Are you saying that this new software, the STR mix, does not do a calculation for related individuals?
I cannot do it at FDLE. We do not have a procedure and it has not been validated.
But it does do it.
It does have a related likelihood ratio, that number that it could give as an end result. The software itself has the ability. I don't have the ability.
And obviously, when they made or developed the software, they thought it was important to have that in the software. They wouldn't have included it. You just don't use that part of the program.
Correct.
Oh. You can do it, but you just don't.
When you do these calculations, I'm talking about this black handle, you don't put Von Seal, Richard, John, and Donald into the same calculation, correct?
Correct.
Although you don't do that when you quote your sample, you're including them all. Is that right?
They're all included as a possible contributor to that mixture.
Even though you don't put them in together.
Yes.
He actually has a 3-ring binder.
There were numerous items that you talked about that.
Does he have a
tested
peachy
positive
folder?
for
Remember
blood.
the peachy folders, like the sports people, and
Was
you'd color in the
human blood, or
football
was that
players
just
and the
blood?
basketball players with your
The
pen,
test
with your
is not
pen,
specific to
and
human.
you'd
It
turn
could
the
be animal
basketball into like a bomb.
So
Those peachy folders
other
are awesome.
than the few items that you ran specifically to see whose blood it was, a lot of the items you were talking about that were positive for blood, you don't know if it was human blood or not.
No.
And you have a method of checking that, do you not?
We do have a test that will tell you if it is human or ferret blood.
What?
What about animal blood?
They should exclude.
What? Wait a minute. I've got a button for that. I'm gonna.
What the fuck is that?
Wait a minute. They should exclude all other animals except ferrets? Where the hell did ferrets come from? Is human blood close to ferret blood? I'm baffled right now. What? Let's go back. This came up in the Kristen Smart case? Ferret blood? What? All right, let's wait, what?
Was that you talked about that tested positive for blood.
Yes.
Was that human blood or was that just blood?
The test is not specific to human. It could be animal blood.
So other than the few items that you ran specifically to see whose blood it was, a lot of the items you were talking about that were positive for blood, you don't know if it was human blood or not.
No.
And you have a method of checking that, do you not?
We do have a test that will tell you if it is human or ferret blood.
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the fuck is that?
I am what? It will tell you if it's human or ferret blood. All right, chat. So what is going on with this? I don't know why they're talking about ferrets. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Okay, no, it just tests for human or ferret because ferrets are known to murder people, right? Yeah. How often does human and ferret blood end up in a crime scene where this test would become? That's I don't know what is happening here. No, it was pig. Yeah, it was pig DNA in the Reed trial. Some of the presumption tests will test positive for human blood with primate or ferret blood. So ferret blood is close to human blood as far as like, this is wild. I never knew this. Apparently can cause false positives, says Aussie Overlord. So all you people saying OJ did it probably never even considered that ferrets killed Ron Nicole. Exactly.
He makes me laugh at inappropriate times.
Oh my God. What? That is wild. In the Smart case, the prosecutor had to ask if in the history of the property there had ever been a ferret farm. Wow. I've always said ferrets killed Nicole. Well, it exonerates the goose. See what happens when you skip the cutscene? Exactly, Elsie Merritt. This is why we don't skip, because we would have gone our entire lives. Well, most of us would have gone our entire lives without knowing this. Wow. Huh. Wow. I'm seeing Frank Burns from MASH ferret face. Oh, ferret seemed to be a bigger issue than we used to believe. If Richard Gere would, oh no, I'm not even going to read that. Ferrets would be much better at hiding evidence, I feel. Yeah, we're gonna need to add the ferret to the next poll. I'm here for ferret. Wow. Exactly. Dude, if you're this is not legal advice, but if you happen to want to murder someone, apparently do it at a ferret farm. What the ferrets? Ozzy is Googling furiously behind the scenes. Ferrets have similar hemoglobin composition to humans, and therefore the luminol, etc., reacts. Wow. All right, that is fascinating. All right, this is worth sitting through this shit for 10 weeks just to hear that one question. Oh my God, that is fascinating. All right. Jim, when we used to dismiss the crazy guy, saying it was the ferrets, not looking so crazy now. Oh no. Wow. All right. Well, shoot. I think that's worth some super chats. Just someone super chat about ferrets.
What about animal blood?
They should exclude all other animals except ferret.
That is so weird.
But you don't know if it did.
Typically, that's not a procedure unless it's needed for that particular case. Test it for blood. If I run a DNA and I get a DNA profile, it's likely it was human because the animal would not work for the DNA.
But we just don't know for sure.
We just don't know for sure if it was the ferrets. Okay, that's a good question, I guess, from the cross-examination. We don't know if it was ferrets because you didn't test to see if it was ferret DNA. The defense is actually using the "it might have been ferrets" defense. That is awesome. You go, defense lawyer. You go. Work that defense. Let's see how that works out for you. He's literally going, but you don't know if it was ferrets. Exactly. Great success. Ferrets are still on the suspect list. Oh, no.
The ones where full DNA profiles.
When you did the full, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yes, you did.
When you did the full DNA profile, like you said, on a couple items, it was Von Seal-Smith's blood.
Yes, that's
we know that's Von Seal-Smith's blood.
Yes.
But there were a lot of other items where you said there was blood that we don't know.
Yes, if I didn't run DNA on it, I couldn't have any clue whether it was animal or human.
All right, you heard it here. It may have been the ferrets, and they didn't rule out that it wasn't ferrets that stabbed the family to death and bludgeoned them to death with a hammer. Hey, you can't rule it out. It's not a 0% possibility. All right. That is literally the weirdest thing I've heard in a very, very long time. Oh God, you guys sent super chats. I was joking, but now I'm not. Now I'm serious because we're 25% of the way to unleashing Doggo Cam. Jill M's with the Australian $5. So it wasn't a horse that impregnated Laura Owens. It was a ferret. Oh my God. That's terrible, Jill. Surfing Bird with another $5. The ferret apocalypse is coming. Jonathan Irwin with the 2. Thank you, buddy. Check this guy's house for terrorized ferrets 100. Oh my God. Adara the Wholesome. I had 14 ferrets. They got little masks for a reason. They got little ferret. I have my glasses on. I can't do the little ferret mask. Oh my gosh. Island. Oops. Fuck. Wait. I can no longer hear myself. Hang on, people. I'm touching the buttons. Make it stop. What have I done? Okay, there we go. Now I can hear myself. I had a personal crisis. Boomer! All right. Ferrets are known for surplus killing, aka murder for fun. That is true. They will eat the shit out of their babies and each other. Ferrets, aka weasels, are some of the dirtiest, nastiest little critters out there. Aussie Overlord with the 5 Aussie bucks. You joke, but my grandfather used to use ferrets for rabbit hunting. Teaching them to seek a warm hole and burrow in isn't part of the equation. I just like I guess they were males, because that's males are always seeking a warm hole to burrow into.
Phrasing.
Thank you so much for that. Appreciate that. All right, that's wild. Let's continue here. We've got another hour to go. Holy crap! I'm well behind time. We've got to get through this today. We got to finish this up in a couple weeks. Wait, somebody say something so I know the sound is up.
Sometimes I realize when I get up here, I don't take the best notes. I'm going to jump around a little bit if you don't mind.
I think he was thrown off by the ferrets too. He's like, what? It was Dr. Ferret in the drawing room with the hammer. Also, you're not supposed to hear yourself. Don't try for my Boomer King right now. It goes back to the radio station days. I always had to hear myself. If I don't hear my own voice when I do this, it really bothers me. So yeah, it's just an old radio thing. When you listening to yourself, making sure you sound really, really good. So yeah, I always have it so I can hear myself in my ears. That's what I'm used to. If I can't hear myself, I'm always wondering how I sound.
Now, what is CODIS?
Oh no, Elsie, no.
Sorry, COATS.
CODIS, CODIS.
Oh, CODIS. It's the combined DNA index system.
Just a wombat says ferrets are deadlier than wombats.
FBI that convicted offenders go into unknown crime samples or unknown samples from crime scenes. Missing people go in there. Subjects are entered. They hold things like that, and it compares them to each other in order to try to identify suspects for crimes, or identify if they find unidentified human remains. It may hit them with a missing person, and then we'll know who they are, such as that.
In this case, there were several unknown DNA samples.
There was only one complete profile. There are some unknown peaks in some of these mixtures.
Did you compare any of these with CODIS?
The unknowns? No, I did not.
So it could have been an unknown criminal.
One of the profiles, it actually came off of a letter that was sent to Richard Smith at his office. I did not enter. I got a full male profile that's unidentified. I did not enter it into CODIS because I couldn't link it to the crime. One of the FBI's rules is that it has to be associated with the crime at hand, so it was not entered. All the rest of the unknown peaks weren't enough to enter in the CODIS.
How about the unknown DNA from Richard Smith's front?
Oh my God, I would love a sugar
there wasn't
glider.
enough
Those are just the
foreign
cutest damn
DNA
things.
that didn't match the family that I could enter it.
Do you have any idea where that foreign DNA in his front pants pocket came from?
I could make some educated guesses, but I wouldn't know for certain.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. He had a small
that's what we
Vietnamese
don't know.
boy in his front
Yes.
pocket.
Is that correct?
The foreigner's DNA.
Now,
Just a
you
wombat.
talked about
Gifted
DNA.
1 Legal Vices membership.
What
And
is skin
LV
cell
Cowboy got it. Thank you.
Skin
Thank you,
cell
Just a
are your
Wombat.
epithelial cells. That's just from your whole body, your skin, your hands, everything you touch, like your clothes being on your shoulders and back right now. There would be transfer potentially from skin DNA onto your clothes.
For instance, on the jury seats, on this platform, the bar here, or on this, you can get DNA just by putting your bare skin on that surface. Is that right?
Aussie Overlord with the $5 says a wombat will twerk a ferret to death any day of the week. I don't even want to go down that ferret hole. Thanks, Ozzy.
With DNA, you cannot tell how long it's been there. Am I correct?
Again, that's a very good question, and some of you smart people there in chat mentioned it. Okay, so his DNA is all over the presumed murder weapon. It's on the shaft. We talked about it being on the handle. His DNA is on the shaft as well. But we don't know when he touched that hammer. He could have touched that hammer a freaking year ago. So that's a good point he's making here. And Phoenix has been a member for 10 months. Thank you so much, Phoenix.
I cannot.
So
She can't
DNA
say
can be somewhere for
how long the DNA's been on the
a few
hammer.
minutes, or it can be there for several years.
Yes,
Yep.
it can be.
In fact, I think there are situations where we found DNA 10, 15 years old that have been used. Is that correct?
Yes.
So although with all this testing you do, you can certainly say if my client's DNA, Von Seal Smith's DNA, my DNA, anybody's DNA is on an object or on in a place, you have no way of determining how long that DNA has been there.
Correct.
This is some good cross-examination. Like really good.
Now, you indicated that you went to the crime scene on the 31st day of July to run the Ferret machine.
Yes.
The Ferret
That's the
machine.
video machine that gives a 360 view of each room. Am I correct on that?
Pretty close. Yes.
In layman's terms.
Yes.
So basically what you're doing is you're running a fancy camera to get measurements and a picture of the room.
Yes.
Did you at any time while you were at the crime scene do anything else, collect any evidence, look for any evidence, anything such as that?
I did not search or collect any evidence. I
you
just
search
ran
for
the Ferret,
Ferret?
and I did create a sketch showing where the Pharaoh scans were in the house.
When you say you create the sketch, does the Pharaoh do the sketch or do you actually do the sketch?
No, I created it. I used a Microsoft Visio program and I just put little squares and circles into it to show where they are.
So it's software programming.
Yes.
It's not like you're taking my legal pad and drawing it like that. You're using a software program.
I draw it like that at the crime scene because I don't have the computer with me, and then I go back to the office and do it nicer on a computer.
Well, then what's the Ferret machine do?
It actually it takes all the measurements and pictures and overlays them. So when you put that into the software program, a different software program, the Ferret software, you can actually move around in the crime scene and look at the different angles, and you can take measurements within the program.
So it's not something that you're sketching out at that point.
No, I can't do anything within that like that.
Mike L says Legal Vice has got a cue. Will you be doing any recaps of the Wisconsin case of the guy killed in a bar fight over tats? I just saw something about that about 5 minutes before I went live. That was the first I saw anything about that. I'll have to give it a look. You just said something like tattoo punch murder or something like that. So it sounded interesting. So I'll have to check it out. Paint. She used MS Paint. But yeah, I will check that out.
What did you mean by the extraction and amplification of DNA?
The extraction is when you break open the cells
Tattoos.
and let the DNA out. Amplification is when you make copies of the areas of the DNA that you're interested in.
So you're taking these skin cells and you're extracting from them and then amplifying what you've extracted?
Yep.
And this is all done by computer? You're right.
No, the extraction is usually more manual. Like I add the chemicals into the tubes. We do now have a robotic extraction system. But
there was a bar fight because there was a little person running around. Deplane. Not that tattoo silent
I believe
PS.
this case was before that. And then it's put on a robotic system that sets up the quantitation and the amplification and the
Rip Hervé
plate for the
Villachet.
genetic analyzer.
And that's all done computer-wise?
A person still has to move things around and put like plates on there, put the chemicals on there. It just moves liquid is all it does. It moves the liquid to the correct place.
This is so weird. I'm still
Mr.
stuck
Myers
on the
asked
Ferret
you
from
about
20
is
minutes
DNA
ago.
fragile and does it degrade? Well, actually, it'll stay for long periods of time.
It can. It depends on the
It's gonna
conditions.
be a long
Like we
time.
talked about, it could be 10 years more or more.
Yes, in the right conditions, it could stay there that long.
And when you talked about it degrades with each transfer, you mean the sample is smaller,
Yes, less amount would transfer.
but the DNA itself is not degrading. It's just the amount of transfer.
This whole trial's degrading.
Yes.
What's up, Straubs? You're hyperventilating back there. Do you smell a ferret? Do you smell a ferret?
On the iPhone, you never found Mr. Hartung's DNA on that iPhone, did you?
No, he was excluded.
How about the BlackBerry?
He was excluded from that as well.
No regrets.
Now, on the hammer,
I'm
there
gonna
are a couple things I
hammer,
didn't understand with the
hammer them down.
there is a black rubber handle part, right? Then you have
No, stop talking about stop talking about black rubber handle things and yellow shafts and oh my God, stop. This trial I'm gonna get age gated on this thing. I'm gonna wake up in the morning and there's gonna be a message from YouTube saying this has been age gated to 18 plus. Can we stop talking about and doing this with your hand while you're talking about black rubber handle things and yellow shafts and how much DNA is on the shaft? Can we please stop talking about this?
you never found Mr. Hartung's DNA on that iPhone, did you?
No, he was excluded.
How about the BlackBerry?
He was excluded from that as well.
Don't do the hand gestures, dude. Please don't do the hand gestures.
Now, on the hammer, there are a couple things I didn't understand with the hammer. There is a black rubber handle part,
Don't
right?
do that.
Yes.
Then you have the yellow shaft,
Stop.
and then you have the metal head of the hammer.
Yes.
So those were the three different areas you checked.
Hey,
I did that. Plus, I stuck a piece of paper in the crack between the
No,
head and the shaft.
And did you find anything when you did?
no. Stop putting things in the cracks. Stop putting things between the head and the shaft. Fuck me. What is going on here? I'm not going to be able to finish this trial. No, stop.
Did that?
I did get results.
What results did you get?
Developed a mixture of at least two. The complete major DNA profile was determined that matched
Oh my
John.
God.
The minor was insufficient for inclusion.
Leave
but suitable
minors
for
out of it.
exclusion.
You're not
Von
helping
Seal and
me
Richard
stay
cannot be included or
monetized.
Excluded. Donald Hartung was excluded.
He was excluded from that part between the head of the hammer and the yellow shaft.
Yes.
Okay. What did you get blood out of that?
I didn't actually check it. I just stuck the paper up in there and cut it and put it in a tube.
So you don't know if there was blood there or not.
No.
As far as the head of the hammer, the metal part,
Yes.
did you get blood off of that?
That gave chemical indications for the presence of blood.
And whose blood was that?
Most likely it would be
What do you mean
John
most
Smith's because he was the complete major on the head.
Well, wait a minute. We can't go with most likely. Was it his or wasn't it his?
There's DNA there that matches John Smith, but whether the blood provided that DNA or they came from some other means like spit or something, I can't tell you for certain.
Or him?
You're if she talks about someone spitting on the head, I'm turning this stream off. I am shutting this shit down. If she again says that someone may have spit on the head, I swear to God, I will shut this down now. But in all seriousness, very good point. We can't deal with probablys or maybes. It was his blood or it wasn't. Stop with the hot cloth stuff, people.
Handling it.
Yes, we're handling it.
I mean, if you grab a hammer and you hold it by the head, your DNA would be on it, right?
Possibly, yes.
And you can't say whether that blood was John Smith's or not.
Not for certain, no.
Oh my God. This guy's got a walk, man. He's got a Walkman. KDP all the way from up north in Seoul, South Korea. KDP, good to see you here, girl. What's up? Jeff losing his shit is making me cry laughing. This is the most innuendo-laden trial I've ever seen. And for the 185 of you that are here, I'm sure there's some of you that haven't seen any of this. Let's not forget the fact the front door was locked, so they kept talking about having to enter through the rear and going in through the rear. But it wasn't just anybody. It was the two lead detectives. It was Detective Infinger and Detective Coxwell that was continually going in through the rear entrance. And by the way, just as I was seeing how many weeks we probably had left, Infinger, we get more Infinger. Infinger is going to be recalled to the stand. So, God, this is the worst trial ever. Thank you for being a member for damn near 2 years, KDP. You rock. Oh, man.
Okay. Did you find blood anywhere else on the hammer?
The yellow shaft gave chemical indications for the presence of blood, and so did the handle.
And whose blood?
The shaft and the handle did not give a clear major. Typically, blood would transfer DNA better than touch, which is why I said that about the head, but I would have no idea.
In other words, you can't say beyond any reasonable doubt that that hammer contained the blood of Von Seal, Smith, Richard Smith, or John Smith.
Well, there is blood and they're included, so it's likely one of them, but I can't tell you which one.
But you can't say.
No, I can't.
Dude,
You can't tell us whose blood it is.
No, I can't.
And you can't tell us if the DNA you got from that hammer is from the blood or from somewhere else.
Not for certain, no.
Okay, well, that's what I asked him. So you don't know if that blood on that hammer is from any of the Smiths.
Correct.
This guy gets an A+ for this cross-examination. That is some seriously good cross. All joking aside, that is a stellar cross-examination of a sub. Well, she's a par witness. She's average. She's not below average. But man, that's some reasonable doubt right there. From a practical standpoint, yeah, obviously it's going to be one of their blood or all of their blood on the head of that hammer. But she said, I don't know. Oh, no. Ozzy, I'm not even going to read that.
That hammer had in different parts of the hammer. On the head, whose DNA is on the head, the metal part.
The major is John, matches John.
And Donald's excluded from that.
Yes.
On the yellow shaft, whose DNA is on the yellow shaft?
Richard and John were included as possible contributors, and Von Seal and Donald were in the inconclusive zone. So
which means you don't know.
Yeah, it's a fancy way to say you don't know.
KT, go to the penalty box. You get 5-minute penalty for instigating.
Don't know, right?
Yes, that's why we have that zone.
Okay, so you don't know. So let's go to the rubber handle of the hammer.
The black rubber handle.
On that rubber handle. Whose DNA is on that?
Von Seal, Richard, John, and Donald were all included as possible contributors.
That's not a a certainty. That's a possibility.
Yes.
So you don't have any certainty that Donald Hartung's DNA is on that hammer,
No, I just give the weight for the match.
but you don't have it any certainty.
No.
See,
And you can't.
now that's her inexperience as a witness. A crime scene analyst who was maybe experienced with trial would say, no, I can't say with certainty, but then they would say the magic words that any of you that have followed any trials will have heard the medical examiner, the DNA analyst, and other expert witnesses say the magic words. You can't prove it to an absolute certainty, but within a reasonable degree of scientific certainty, I can say it was their DNA. That's how she should have answered that question. Not, no, I can't be certain. She should have said, with a reasonable degree of scientific certainty, we can say it was one of theirs. There you go. See, Ozzy, are you a lawyer? Ozzy Overlord, the Australian lawyer extraordinaire. See, Ozzy, the Aussie lawyer. He knows the magic lawyer words. The reasonable degree of medical certainty, reasonable degree of scientific certainty. Those are the magic words. Not with, I can't prove it. And I just can't. I don't know. I'm not certain. You say those words, the magic words, a reasonable degree of scientific certainty. So this is her inexperience as a witness.
Tell me that beyond a reasonable doubt, Donald Hartung's DNA is on the hammer.
Say yes.
No, I wouldn't say that.
Oh my Christ on a what? No, that's the wrong answer. That's the wrong answer for you. Oh my God. What is her job again? I have to check the banner. What is her job? Her job is crime lab analyst. Crime lab analyst. That is the wrong answer for you. No, you don't say that. You're the crime scene analyst. You say yes, beyond a reasonable doubt, a reasonable degree of scientific certainty, it's them. Nobody can say for 100% certainty that it's them, but beyond a reasonable doubt, within a reasonable degree of scientific certainty, we can determine that it is, we can conclude that it's his. You don't just say, no, I can't say that. Wow. All right. Let's jump back a little bit and listen to that. That was the absolute wrong answer. And that was wrong of me to do that. So here we go.
But you don't have it any certainty.
No.
And you can't tell me that beyond a reasonable doubt, Donald Hartung's DNA is on the hammer.
No, I wouldn't say that.
Now,
holy cow. Wow. That was a bad answer. Maybe she meant to say, I wouldn't say what you're saying. I wouldn't say that we can't say beyond a reasonable
under the fingernails of all three people,
that was badly
you didn't
articulated.
find any foreign DNA.
Correct.
Were you ever given the drains of the kitchen sink to check for any type of blood?
No.
You said you got crime scene Sergeant Bjornson's DNA off the silver screw on the kitchen sink.
The silver
He
what?
couldn't be excluded from the mixture, so it's possible his DNA was there.
Okay, and that's the kitchen sink handle, correct? That we're
Yeah,
talking about. No,
yes.
when I said kitchen sink, I'm sorry, I meant kitchen sink handle.
Yes, the handle.
Okay, and you got some of Von Seal Smith's blood on that handle, I understand?
Yes, the blood matched Von Seal.
Donald was not anywhere else. Hartung wasn't anywhere on the handle.
He was excluded. No, I did not get his DNA on anything. On the handle.
Anything? You didn't get his DNA on anything? Oh, come, lady.
On the Swiss Army case. Yeah.
Good grief. Hey, we're halfway to Doggo Cam.
I don't want to break your machine. Is that the button?
We're halfway to Doggo Cam, Strawberry. I don't think we're going to get to see you today.
A slide projector.
Thank you, Judge. Is this the Swiss Army case?
Yes, looks like it.
Okay. That states Exhibit 259. Is the area above the white
Measuring tape.
5-inch marker, is that where you found blood?
That's a
I
centimeter.
believe so. I said it was on the back corner.
That can't be an inch. That'd be
That looks
huge.
like the back corner.
It's a centimeter,
Whose
isn't it?
blood is that?
The profile matched Richard. It was a complete profile.
That's got to be centimeters. Otherwise, that
Find
zipper would be like 2.5 inches
DNA on
long.
the outside of that case.
The original comparison, he could not be included or excluded from the outside of the case. And then he was included as a possible contributor when I reworked it.
Mm-hmm.
When you reworked it, you said he was a possible contributor, which means you don't know if he's a contributor or not.
That's for mixtures. That's how I report out. It's included
just
as
don't
possible
know.
mixture. Yes.
Okay.
Jill Ams with the Aussie 20. Strawberry. Woohoo. You are now the Vice Racks of the day.
Right here on that big case, is that?
Duncan Idaho says, Mom, can we get Matlock? We have Matlock at home. Yeah. I've told this story before very, very quickly. That's not A, funny to me, or B, out of the realm of possibility. When I was in law school doing moot court, we ran this experiment where we got a bunch of people to sit as jurors, what they thought was a real trial. You know, we had witnesses. It was a shoe store robbery, and I was defense counsel. And I can't remember. It doesn't really matter who was on the prosecution side. But we argue the case. We go through everything. We present a full case, complete with evidence and everything. And the jurors, as far as they know, it's a real trial that's being tried by third-year law students. And they give permission, and a real judge was sitting as the judge, and so it was a legit trial setting. And the jury signed waivers that there could be cameras in with the jury deliberation, so that we could watch. It was to see how juries think about things, how juries process and how they deliberate. Sort of like if you were watching 12 Angry Men, but it was in a real environment. And what happened was, while the jury was deliberating, just doing normal stuff, the judge said, he looked at me and said, that was a very good case. And if I was sitting in judgment, I would acquit him based on your presentations. The jury came back guilty. And what happened was literally one of the older jurors, I swear to God, said, well, I saw an episode of Matlock similar to this, and this is what that happened. So that's why juries scare the shit out of me. Because literally when they're in that closed room behind closed doors with nobody watching, they can say shit like that. Like, well, I saw an episode of Matlock where they did something similar, and this is how it turned out. So yeah, calling in Matlock, I can testify to you, is not out of the realm of possibility for jurors. Literally, one of the older jurors, she invoked Matlock. Scared the crap out of me.
On that big case, was Donald Hartung's DNA on the outside of that case?
The swabbing of the outside of that case, that's the same case. It would be the same results, although I did match Donald to the horn on the zippers from the case.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. There's a zipper here, and then there's a zipper that goes over the top here.
Yes.
Which zipper are you talking about?
I swabbed both of them on the same swab.
Okay, and
on the
was
same
Mr.
swab?
Hartung's DNA on this zipper?
You swabbed two different zippers on the same swab? Get the F out of here. Ma'am, I would like to talk to you for a minute, if I might, about this thing that we call cross-contamination. Two different locations with the same swab. That's O.J. Simpson level shit. That is Ms. Mazzola level shit there. Wow.
Or was it on this?
I don't know. It was on either one of them or both.
That's why you don't swab two things with one swab. Oh my God. That is literally why you don't swab two things with one swab. Oh my God. She doesn't know which of those zippers the sample came from. Could have been from this one, that one, or both. Oh my God.
Well, was it on one or two, or you just don't know which one?
She just doesn't know.
It was either on either one of them or both. I don't know which one, if it was one.
Oh my God.
So the answer is, you know that there's a zipper on that case, and you're sure that Mr. Hartung's DNA is on a zipper, but you don't know which zipper, or you don't know if it's both zippers.
No, they were pretty close to each other in relation. Had no
Oh my
issue
God.
swabbing them on the same swab.
Well, wait, run that by me again.
Well, typically we swab different areas, but they're physically close to each other.
That is the dumbest thing I have heard in a very long time. Well, because these two objects were close to each other, we just swabbed them both with the same swab. This ain't good, people. You think, Hayden? You think? This is not good. This is seriously Dennis Fung, Andrea Mazzola level O.J. Simpson shit.
What, the zippers? There's one that opens the whole case up and one that opens a pouch up. Now, did you take a swab, a single swab from both that zipper and that zipper? Or did you take two separate swabs?
Just the piece you would grab to close the zippers.
Okay, so it's not the zipper. You're talking about these little pieces here?
Yes.
The
Okay.
handles on the zipper.
So
oh my
it's-
God.
Well, let's call it the zipper handle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got two zipper handles, a zipper handle here and a zipper handle here. Which of those
She's not
two
the crime
zipper
scene
handles
tech. She's the
do you have Mr. Hartung's
she's
DNA?
the analyst. She's the
I don't know.
crime
Could be
lab
both. It could be
analyst.
one or the other.
Not the
Nancy,
crime
You
scene.
don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
She's just the lab girl.
Now, you continuing on this piece of, or this exhibit, which is 316, there was an envelope you checked for DNA.
Hartung 316.
And you said Mr. Hartung's DNA was not on that envelope. Am I correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Was it that envelope? Do you know?
I believe I swabbed all
For those of you
them
that
all
were
with
talking
one
about the
swab.
doggo cam, we're
Okay, you
35
swabbed
away
all
from
these
doggo cam.
envelopes with one
You got about
swab?
45
Yes.
minutes left. But we're
And-
$35 away from the goal.
When you swabbed all the envelopes with one swab, did Mr. Hartung's DNA come back on any of them?
No.
How about this little green thing here?
This little green thing.
The Kleenex package.
Oh, that's a Kleenex package? I
Yes.
guess my reading's not so good. Was Mr. Hartung's DNA on
Marvin
that?
the Martian.
No, he was excluded.
How about this down here? Did you swab those?
I don't remember swabbing those.
Okay.
Mine's a mail, but it's possible if it came in with the mail. Yeah, you can check.
Duncan, Idaho gifted 1 Legal Vices membership, and it went to Aussie Overlord. Woo! And Jonathan Irwin with the $2. Yeah, I graduated with a D average. Double D average. Thank you, Jonathan Irwin. I don't even swab both ears with one
Labeled as
swab.
cards and papers. So it's possible that that was
Good.
included with the swab of the mail.
Which means you didn't get Mr. Hartung's DNA on any of this stuff down here.
All right, we got to pause for this. Just a Wombat, who is the co-vice racks of the day with a $25 Legal Vices gifted memberships. 5 of them went to Chico Mite, KT, Gwennon Garnett, Gem. That's 4. Where did number 5 go? Lady Autumn Sky got one. Sweet. Woohoo. And Aussie Overlord gifted 1 Legal Vices membership. And that went to Adam Downs. Everybody, thank everybody that gave everybody the memberships. Oh, and you guys are funny. Oh, well, you know what? That was completely the wrong button to hit, wasn't it? There it was. That was the wrong button. You guys are funny. Oh my God, that was bad. All right, everybody, we've come to that point in time, that little part of the show that we're gonna explore here in just a quick second. After we remind me later to do that, and it's that time of the day because we have reached the goal. The first goal has been unlocked. It is the goal that we like to call
Release the hose.
Woo, it's Strawberry and Yoda. Welcome, Strawberry and Yoda. Good to see you guys here. It's been a while. It's been almost a week since we saw Straubs and Yoda. There we go. We have achieved Doggo Cam. Round of applause for the doggos. And for the support from the chat. Chat rules. Woo! Yay, chat. All right. Back to the trial.
The papers, no. The checkbook's different.
Okay, now we'll get to the checkbook. On this checkbook, how many different swabs did you take on the checkbook?
I took the swabbing from the outside of the checkbook.
That would be the outside of the cover, right?
Case, yes. Mhm.
Okay, and you get Mr. Hartung's DNA on that.
Turn the camera away. I want to stop hitting this button.
Yes, he was matched the complete form.
On the outside of the checkbook.
Yes, Nosferatu.
On the inside of the checkbook, you also took DNA swabs, correct?
I swabbed the top check.
Okay, and was my client's DNA on the top check?
No, he was excluded.
You're right.
So on this totally.
Yeah, he's like, I was excluded, bitch. Yeah, I was excluded. Mm-hmm. Who was excluded? This guy's excluded.
Exhibit. You have Mr. Hartung's DNA on the outside of the checkbook. Is that correct?
Yes.
And either on this zipper handle or this zipper handle or both, but you don't know.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Do you know how long Mr. Hartung's DNA had been on the outside of the checkbook?
I don't know.
Do you know how long his DNA was either on that zipper handle or that zipper handle?
No, I don't know.
Dude is killing it on this cross-examination. Holy cow. This dude back here is just grooving to the beats here. Got his Dr. Dre beats on.
The outside, you checked all that.
Doing
too,
Stevie
did you
Wonder
not,
impressions.
for DNA.
I swabbed
The red part and the black part here.
Yeah, I swabbed the outside of the case trying to avoid anything that looked like blood.
Okay, and whose DNA was all over that?
Von Seal and Donald were included as possible contributors.
Possible, but not definite.
I never do a definite for a mixture.
Now,
yes,
on this purse, the exterior of the purse, any DNA on the exterior, this is exhibit 202.
I did different swabs from the exterior. I did a swabbing of the handle, swabbing of the snap and latch, and the swabbing of the suspected blood next to the opening.
Okay. And on
It doesn't
the
look like
exterior
genuine
of
leather.
the purse was Donald Hartung's DNA found.
Could be, though. If it is, it's very thin.
He was included as a possible contributor on the handle, and I matched him to the DNA, the foreign DNA on the snap and latch.
Is that this right here? On that side, or is it on that side, or is it on the outside of that?
I did the whole piece that pulls over and snaps down.
Okay. When you said he
Stop looking at me.
he's on this strap, right?
He was included as a possible contributor.
Possibly.
Yes.
Possible.
Okay. Now, but you said you did. What is it? A definite that you've got his DNA on the snap and latch?
It was a complete DNA profile that
Okay.
matched him.
Okay. Now here's my question. Now, when you said his complete DNA profile was on the snap and latch, are you talking about the inside here or that right there? Or are you talking about the outside of that tab?
The piece that hangs over that has the snap, I would have swabbed the whole thing.
Okay, so we can't see what you swabbed because of the position of it. Is that right?
Here, this would help. I'm talking about right here.
Okay.
The cloth latch that would come over and snap to there, I would have swabbed that whole thing.
Okay, and my question was it on the outside of that or on the inside of that, or do you not recall?
Okay, you've
I
made
believe
your
I swabbed
point.
both sides. So
Start
I
to
don't
wrap
know
this
which
up.
the
Don't
DNA
lose
is
your
on.
momentum,
Okay,
dude.
so you swab both sides with the same swab, I guess.
Yes.
Okay. And again, you don't know how long that purse was touched by Mr. Hartung.
I don't know how long the DNA was there.
Do you know, did that have any contents in the purse when you received it?
There was a quarter, a nickel, and a penny.
Okay. Did you swab those for Mr. Hartung's DNA?
I did not.
Did you swab the interior of the purse for Mr. Hartung's DNA?
I took a swab from the inside opening of the purse.
And whose DNA was there?
A complete foreign. Oops, I'm sorry. That's the wrong. The brown purse, not the
Oh, there's some bad closed captioning. I'm sorry, that's the wrong brown person, not the black person. Oh no, that's some unfortunate closed captioning. Holy cow. There's no way this stream is going to be monetized, and none of it is my fault for the first time. None of this is my fault. Edging and shafts and spitting and edging and infinger and cockswell and brown person. None of this is my fault, and I'm going to be demonetized for it. Brown purse, black purse.
The black purse is a foreign, insufficient for inclusion, but suitable for exclusion. Richard, John, and Donald could not be included or excluded.
Okay. So there's foreign DNA in there?
Yes.
We don't know whose it is.
I can't say for certain which person, no.
That's very interesting, because that was part of the prosecution's argument. Was he was there to steal money. He allegedly stole like $300,000 out of the safe. And the implication was, he robbed whatever was in the purse, but his DNA is not inside the purse. They didn't test the money to see if he touched the money. See, and that's the thing. If his DNA would have been on the money, that could have been pretty incriminating. But they didn't even test it.
And on the brown purse, you have nothing of Mr. Hartung.
Mr. Hard Time. Good to see the court TV's closed captioning is just as bad as long crime.
From all my swabbings of the brown purse.
I'm going to ask you some other questions, but since I came to that, I might as well ask you about State's Exhibit 384 while we're talking. On 384, look at D21S11, okay?
Okay.
What does that mean?
That's just the name of the area of the DNA that we're talking about.
That doesn't mean anything to me, honestly.
Somebody named them. The 21 actually means the 21st chromosome, and the 11 is just the area location on that chromosome.
Okay,
Did you
so
find
when
an
you talk
extra
about
chromosome?
You're not talking about location on the hammer handle. You're just talking about
It's the location on the
DNA.
DNA, on your DNA strands.
Okay. That's what didn't make any sense why you would number something like that. But that's DNA strands, I understand it. What's this 29 here? What's that match up to?
It doesn't, none of the 4 people there could have provided that 29. It would have to be another person.
Mark,
on the hammer
you're
handle,
welcome, I guess.
we've got some other person supplying DNA.
Yes, appears so.
Okay. Do we know who that person is?
I do not.
Now, number 12, is that some other person supplying DNA?
Yes, it couldn't have come from those 4.
So if it's DNA that couldn't have come from Mr. Hartung or the Smiths, we've got another person providing that DNA on number 12. Is that right?
Other than those 4, yes, another person.
Okay. Go down to
Do we know it's a person?
TH01.
It could be a ferret.
How about number
Good point,
7?
Eileen.
Does that match any of the 4 people?
No.
Or is that just blood?
Okay. How about on this one, D16S539? Does number 9 match anyone?
No.
Go to D19S433. Does number 12 match anyone?
No.
And if we drop down to FGA on the very bottom, who matches number 23?
None of those 4 do.
Okay. And this is where you reported 3 donors, but you've got 4. Is that right?
Well, the original working, I reported it as at least 3.
Yeah, but we had 4.
It's possible there's 4.
Well, we've got Donald, Von Seal, Richard, and John. That's 4, right?
All four are included as possible contributors.
Dude, wrap it up. Don't lose the jury, man. You did a strong cross-examination.
If I want to turn that off, I'll just pull that little cover. So I don't blind this. I need to turn it off. I don't want to burn your bowl out.
And been there, done that says, did you guys know that Alan Jackson is in a Netflix series, not about the Karen Reed trial, but about some of his other trials? Actually, that's one of the
Exhibit 153.
that's one of the retro trials I'm thinking of doing either next or next is Alan Jackson prosecuting Phil Spector in the Phil Spector murder trial,
Which was that Swiss Army knife case.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about being a mixture of DNA on that.
Yes.
Am I correct?
Yes.
How many donors did you use? I didn't see that.
For the rework and STR mix, I assumed 2 and ran it through, and also assumed 3 and ran it through.
She's been ran through.
Okay. Why didn't you assume 4?
Because when I ran it as 3, I was already getting very low percentages. It basically gives a percentage to each contributor you assign to it. So when I told it there was likely 3 contributors in there, it assigned one person at 86%, one at 13%, and one at 1%. If I went to 4, in all likelihood, it would have given that 4th person a 0 percentage. And I can't report
In
out
all likelihood.
stuff with 0 percentages.
Wait a minute. We're talking about 4 people, correct?
Yes.
And if it gave 0%, we take it that would be an honest answer from the computer.
Yes, but again, the computer doesn't know they're related.
So what?
Okay. Look, we're going to get to that in a minute.
So what?
But you got four potential contributors. And you're trying to see if there are 4 matches. So you just arbitrarily decide to do 3.
Well, I ran 2 because it looks like 2, but knowing that they're related, I tried it as 3, and STR Mix modeled it that yes, there could be a 3rd person, and it gave the statistics for those. But I doubt seriously it would model it as a 4th person, so I didn't try it as 4.
Doubt seriously.
If it did, you said it would give a 0 potentially,
I think it might, yes.
and you're not allowed to report a 0. Why aren't you allowed to report what the software program gives you?
Good point.
Basically, it's telling you that it's wrong. If it's telling you the 4th person is 0%, at least what it's seeing from the profile, it's telling you that it doesn't think the 4th person exists.
So does that mean it's a bad program?
No, just unfortunately, you can't tell them that they're related and they're all likely sharing.
If you put 2 donors in, then everyone is excluded, correct?
Yes.
But when you put 3 donors in, now you're including Mr. Hartung.
Yes.
If you put 4 donors in, would you exclude Mr. Hartung, or do you just not know because you didn't run it?
No, there's a difference between going from 2 people to 3 people than there is from 3 to 4.
Huh?
When you only have 2 people in a mixture, it limits your options. So for instance, at a marker, I had an 11, a 12, and a 13. And I made the assumption that Richard is in this one. Just say he's an 11, 12 at that marker. So therefore, the other person, because I'm only telling it there's 2, has to have a 13. It's not giving me any other options. But once I tell the software there's 3 people, it now opens up other options because Richard's still 11-12, but now somebody could be an 11-11, somebody could be an 11-12, somebody could be a 12-13, somebody could be an 11-13, somebody could be a 13-13. It opens up all these options that 2 people doesn't have. 2 people is very restricting when it comes to mixtures. So once you get to the 3, it included them because the other options opened up. 4 would not open up additional options. You would still have those same options.
So in other words, you can jiggle the results based on what you put into the software program.
Well, obviously going from 2 to 3 can change your results dramatically, but going from 3 to 4 shouldn't, it might change the overall number that's reported out, but it shouldn't change whether they're included or excluded.
But my point is,
see, this is the thing. What she is saying could be absolutely correct, but none of or very few of us have any idea what the shit she's talking about. She sounds like she doesn't really know what she's talking about. And if she does, it's incredibly confusing. She's presenting the answers poorly here.
if you can jiggle around the number of contributors to get kind of what you want to see.
I did the number of contributors to what I thought was correct. It looks like 2, so I ran it as 2. But when I got my results, that does not look correct to me. It's not intuitive to what I'm seeing as a person looking at this, knowing that they're related. So then I ran it as 3.
So if you don't like the results and you're just going to do what you want to do, why do you use the program at all?
The program does a lot of mathematical calculations that it would take me years to do.
In other words, it's calculating mathematically stuff you can't calculate mathematically in a reasonable amount of time.
Yes.
Let me run back to the sofa cushion that Mr. Myers asked you about. That was Exhibit 106.
We've got 20 minutes left.
Mr. Hartung was excluded on that, correct?
Correct.
But you had DNA results that you didn't have an answer to, right?
I made the assumption that Von Seal, Richard, and John were there. It's their sofa. But there was DNA foreign to them that I don't know who belongs to.
And that was, are they called alleles? Is that am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yes.
You had 16 foreign alleles.
Yes.
And was that not enough to put it into CODIS?
Given their height and the fact that they likely could be mixing with the people that I know are in the mixture,
height.
I couldn't decipher out that other person to put it in CODIS.
Well, you couldn't have put the whole thing with the 16 alleles in to see what came back?
You can't put a mixture with that many people into CODIS. It'll hit to too much.
Well, how do you, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. That was rude. How do you know?
But I'll continue.
There were that many other contributors to those 16 alleles, or did you just assume there were?
No, I mean, I can't put the whole mixture in there because I've already got at least 3 people, and you can't enter a mixture of 3 or more into CODIS.
Wait a minute. How did you know you had 3 people?
When you look at a profile to determine the number of contributors, since you can only get 2 alleles from any one person, you just count the marker with the highest number of alleles, and that'll give you an estimate of how many people you have. So if you have one marker that's got 5, then you have to have a third person to have provided that 5th allele, because the one person could give 2, the other person could give 2. So now you need a third person for that 5th marker or allele.
I still blame
on
Ferret.
the coffee table. That's Exhibit 107.
Bernice, bye.
You indicated there was that Mr. Hartung was excluded, but that you had a foreign DNA type.
Yes.
Did you run that through your program to see about that DNA type or put that into CODIS?
It was only 2 alleles, and that's not interpretable.
Okay.
Hey, Ginger with the Soul. Tell your cousin from St. George howdy. Someone from Logan. My two nieces live in St. George.
When you found Sergeant Bjornson, the crime scene text DNA on the kitchen screw,
Yes.
there wasn't blood there for Mr. Bjornson, was there?
Her hair is
No,
thinning
the
badly.
swabbing I had taken that had appeared to have Mr. Bjornson on it they failed to give chemical indications for blood.
I'm sorry.
It failed to give chemical indications for blood. It was negative for blood.
So would that have been from his epithelial cells?
It could have been that. He could have spit a little as he was breathing or sneezing or something. It could
Could have
be
been.
sweat dripping off of him.
Could have been.
So it's pretty easy to transfer your DNA, is what you're telling me.
Especially in body fluids, yes, it's easy.
Sweat on your hands.
Yes, that would transfer.
Well, and I thought you said breathing. Can you breathe on something and leave your DNA?
Well, if you spit as you,
On that thing.
not just air.
Okay, so you'd have to have a liquid come out of your mouth while breathing to leave your DNA.
I would think so. And if not, you probably have to be doing a lot of heavy breathing on it.
Okay. Well, I mean, because you brought up breathing.
I meant like, if he was breathing and managed to get a little
I was
spill
trying
out.
to educate myself on that, very
no.
honestly. So if I go, my DNA is not going to be there because I just blew on it.
I
Right?
doubt I could pick it up from that.
Okay. Now, you talked about some of Mr. Hartung's DNA being on a belt.
Yes.
Am I correct? And you found that the second time you ran the program, am I right?
The first time he couldn't be included or excluded. And when I ran the program, it included him.
Okay. What kind of DNA was on the belt?
It did test positive, gave chemical indications for the presence of blood, but it could be from touch or skin cells, could be from spit. I don't know.
You're not suggesting it's Mr. Hartung's blood, are you?
Well, it could very well be Richard's blood. His DNA was there as well.
Could
and he was
very well
obviously
be.
bleeding.
So you don't know whose blood or how the DNA got there.
No, not for certain.
Okay. Now, when you're checking something for DNA, can you tell, and two people's DNA are on something, and we'll use the belt. Can you tell whose DNA was on there first?
No, I can sometimes tell who has more DNA, but that would be it.
Can you tell when you're doing your swab, you're getting whatever is the swab's picking up, right?
Yes.
And what are the swabs? You put a liquid on the swabs, or is it a dry Q-tip, or what is it exactly?
Swabs look like a long Q-tip, and I usually add sterile water to them before I swab something, unless, like in the case where I dry swab something because it was going to latents.
Because it was, pardon me?
Because it was going to be transferred to the latent print section,
Okay.
and I couldn't mess up their testing.
Okay, so on this belt, for instance, if there is blood on it and under the blood might be someone else's DNA, you can pick up both the contributor's blood DNA as well as the DNA under the blood. Is that right?
It's possible.
In this particular case, how many DNA swabs did you take on the belt?
One.
And you said you got both Richard's DNA and Donald's DNA?
I assumed Richard was there, and his DNA is clearly the main DNA source there. And then Donald was included as a contributor.
And what does a contributor mean exactly?
With Single sources, I can say they match. It matches a person. With a mixture, I can't say that. I have to say they're included as a possible contributor, or that they're excluded, or I don't know, that inconclusive zone.
And in this particular case, what is Mr. Hartung?
He was included as a possible contributor.
Which means we don't know for certain.
That's why I give the statistic to show how likely it is they're included.
Okay. And you couldn't tell if his DNA had been on the belt, how long it had been there?
I can't tell.
A year or an hour?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know how long it was there.
Last thing is, there was a cigarette butt that Mr. Myers asked you about. That was, there were 5 cigarette butts actually, A through E. Correct?
Yes.
And on cigarette butt E, you indicated that that had blood on it.
It gave chemical indications for blood.
Was
Chemical
the blood a
indication.
result of being next to the bloody rags in the trash can, or do you know?
I don't know. I do know that I didn't see large blood stains on it or anything, so it probably wasn't a huge amount of blood, but I'm not sure how it got there.
Okay. So there was not.
No, I was
there blood on
looking at
cigarette
something
butt
else. I
number
wasn't
E?
zoned out.
It gave the test said yes. It gave chemical indications for the presence of blood.
Do you know who's?
I had a text I had to check out. Sorry.
Donald Hartung was included, as well as Von Seal Smith, so it would be one of theirs.
Okay. Was it their blood or their DNA?
I can't distinguish between the two.
So you can't tell if it was Von Seal Smith's blood or Donald Hartung's blood.
Or a ferret's
It was likely one of them had smoked the cigarette, because it was a smoked cigarette. So one of them probably came from saliva, the DNA, and then there was blood present according to the test. So
Well,
one
let
of
me
them's
ask
likely
you a
blood.
question. I don't smoke, but I've seen people smoke a cigarette and then somebody will say, give me a puff or whatever, and they'll hand it over to somebody else and they'll smoke it for a minute and hand it back.
A cigarette?
Would that create a situation where both people's DNA were on the cigarette butt?
Yes.
So it doesn't necessarily have to have been the DNA from blood.
No, they both could have smoked the cigarette.
I don't have anything further. Thank you very much, Ms. Wilkes.
That was a freaking brutal cross-examination. That was a stellar cross-examination.
And just for the record, the hammer in the kitchen sink was agency number 22. The swab of that hammer was agency number 41. The Swiss Army case from the kitchen counter was agency 145. The swabs of that case were 153. The black belt from Richard was 211. The black purse from the garbage can was 156. The red shirt from Richard was 218. The checkbook of Richard and the papers inside were 147. The swab of Richard's checkbook 155, and the cigarettes
9
in the
minutes
trash can
left.
197. Now, Ms. Wilkerson, since 2015, can you tell the jury just an example of how technology has changed since 2015?
Sure. A good everyday example would be like, think about your cell phone. And it used to, way back, you'd only have calls and texts, and now you can look up everything, keep all your planners, and your camera has more megapixels than cameras from 20 years ago in a little box. So like that, the DNA technology has also gotten better in the last few years.
Now, when you're determining how many donors that you put into your database, is this based on your observations when you do your manual work?
Yes.
Is it also based on the 17,000 samples you've run?
Yes.
Now, the numerous items tested for blood, you indicated that you cannot tell animal blood from human blood. But when you test the item for DNA, you're saying that this is human DNA and not dog DNA.
Yes. Dog DNA would not show up with my testing.
What about ferrets and monkeys?
The testimony about Richard's pants pocket, there was DNA that you did not identify. Was that level high or low?
It was very low amounts. The peaks were very small on the graph.
And that's why there's not enough there to work with, basically?
Why there wasn't enough for me to put it into CODIS.
Defense counsel asked you if DNA stays a long time, and you said in the right conditions. What are the right conditions?
Good conditions for DNA would be climate controlled. Usually cooler is better. Freezing would be ideal. Also good conditions would be things that people don't touch or wipe down a lot. Like steering wheels, as you drive it, if somebody else drives it, they might knock some of the DNA off from the previous driver. So that's not a good condition to keep that there for years and years. It would have to be something that's not being touched or wiped in good, basically climate or weather conditions. If obviously something's getting rained on, it'll wash away, things such as that.
Now, when you're looking at or developing a DNA profile, defense counsel spent some time asking you if you could tell if that DNA profile was blood, air, spit, saliva, so forth. Are you testing to find or locate DNA? Is that what you're looking for?
Yes, I can tell you what DNA was in the sample, and then there are tests for like blood or saliva, but I can't tell you specifically that that DNA came from that body fluid.
And this is especially true when you have a mixed profile.
Yes, I definitely can't tell you which, if there's more than one body fluid or type of DNA there, which one is which person.
So when you develop a DNA profile and it's a mixture, that's when you do your statistics, correct?
Either a match or when there's a mixture, yes.
Somebody should tell
statistics
Dexter
is to
back
give
there that his
weight
beard
to
isn't a
probability
convincing
that DNA belongs
disguise.
to
Yes.
this person. Accurate. Now, when you looked at the hammer and the handle, we saw the profile earlier. Those profiles of the unknown, were those high or low?
It was very low peaks. They were all under 200 units high, and it has to be 50 units high for it to even be called a peak in the first place.
Huh?
Now,
I'm sure that means something.
Did
to
you
somebody.
locate a DNA profile to Mr. Hartung on the hammer?
He's included as a possible contributor to the hammer.
And what weight did you give that?
For the handle, the swabbing of the handle, the observed mixed DNA profile is approximately 130,000 times more likely to occur if the sample originated from Donald Hartung and 2 unrelated individuals than from 3 unrelated individuals.
Did you develop Donald Hartung's DNA, or locate it rather, on the Swiss Army case?
Whoa, did you develop his DNA?
Yes.
And what weight did you assign that?
In this case, it was actually a match, meaning it was this, I pulled out a single source foreign profile, and the match is the observed mixed DNA profile is greater than 700 billion times more likely to occur if the sample originated from Richard Smith and Donald Hartung. That's actually for the whole mixture. Than from Richard Smith and 1 unrelated individual. The original time I worked it, for the match, the frequency of currents for the foreign DNA profile was 1 in 33 million.
Did you locate Donald Hartung's DNA on the checkbook of Richard?
Yes.
And what weight did you assign that?
Hello. Hello. Witness, read faster. Read faster, witness.
Yes, Nosferatu.
Okay, for the checkbook, again, there was a mixture and it was assuming Richard. I pulled a complete foreign DNA profile that matched Donald Hartung. And within a reasonable degree of scientific certainty, Donald was the source of that.
Now she says the
garbage.
words.
Did you
Now
locate
she
Donald
says the
Hartung's
magic
DNA there?
words.
Yes.
And what weight did you give that?
There's going to be no recross. It looks like we've got 2 minutes left. Thank God. La 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 la.
So Donald Hartung was included as a possible contributor, and the observed mixed DNA profile was greater than 700 billion times more likely to occur if the sample originated from Von Seal and Donald and one unrelated individual than from Von Seal and 2 unrelated individuals.
Did you locate Donald Hartung's DNA on Richard's belt?
Yes.
And was that the interior, I believe you said?
I swabbed the interior, yes.
And what weight did you assign that?
I developed a mixture of two individuals. Donald Hartung was included as a possible contributor, and the observed mixed DNA profile is approximately 1.1 billion times more likely to occur if the sample originated from Richard Smith and Donald Hartung than from Richard Smith and an unrelated individual.
And you located Donald Hartung's DNA on the cigarettes, correct?
Yes.
All 5?
Yes.
Were those matches?
Yes.
So what weight do you assign the match for the cigarette?
For the first 4 that weren't reworked, the original weight, we just, at the time when the statistic was greater than 700 billion, we just reported out that they were the source of that DNA profile. And then the one that was reworked with the new technology, he was included as a possible contributor to the mixed DNA profile. The observed
Nice one,
mixed DNA
petrified.
profile was greater than 700 billion times more likely to occur if the sample originated from Donald Hartung and one unrelated individual than from from 2 unrelated individuals.
Thank you, ma'am. Those are my questions.
Could I ask just one quick follow-up?
Yes.
Oh, does he have a follow-up question? Oh, he does. He's got like 30 seconds.
Ms. Wilkerson, something I didn't understand, or maybe my notes were wrong. On the black belt, Mr. Myers asked you about swabbing the black belt. You recall that?
Yes.
Did you swab both the outside and inside of the black belt?
No, I did the inside and then the little narrow edge, like the top and the bottom of the belt.
And where was the DNA, on the top or the bottom or the inside or where?
I don't know. It was all in the same swab.
Oh my Christ again. All right.
No, Your Honor.
Thank you.
All right. That is the end, folks. And that cross-examine, the redirect was not good. The prosecutor did not fix anything that the defense just busted wide open. Man, that was a great cross-examination. I'm glad we didn't skip the entire thing. That's created some reasonable doubt in my mind, aside from there not really being anything tied into it. Directly tying him to the crime. It's just the prison snitch so far. That's the only thing that they've got going. That's the only thing that's tying him directly to the murders is the prison snitch. Well, we've got about 3 weeks left, 3 possibly into 4, but I think we can wrap this up in 3 weeks. So we'll find out how that goes. Next week, the end of next week, we should get to the Wiccan priest. Elsie Merritt, if there were any other suspects, this witness could have sunk the case. Makes me wonder about the prison snitch. Well, it certainly does. He's the only one tying Hartung to this murder in any meaningful manner. He goes to the house every week to cook dinner on Tuesday nights. His DNA is going to be all over the damn house. Wow. All right. Well, folks, that's it for Throwback Thursday, our retro trial Thursday. Tomorrow morning U.S. time, there will be no stream as usual. It'll be a Friday evening U.S. stream, I believe, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern. And we will be doing an update on the Sarah Boone case. Sarah Boone had a hearing the other day, her first hearing as her own lawyer, her first pro se hearing. We'll watch that and see how she did. And she's filed a bunch of motions, and I have to use quotation marks, she won her first motion. We'll get into that Friday evening U.S. time, middle of the night UK time, and late morning for Korea, Japan, and Australia. So join us for Sarah Boone Friday and find out how she won her first motion and how she did in her first trial representing herself. All right, everybody, thank you so much. We will see you then. Stay tuned for the notifications. Make sure you like and subscribe on your way out. Our like and subscribe poll, 22% of you think he should be found guilty. 6% of you think he should be found not guilty. 30% of you think he should be found away the same as a duck. And 42% of you just don't care. You're just hitting the like and subscribe button. Thank you for joining us for this weird trial today. I think the last thing I want to do is check to see if we have been officially monetary restricted yet. I'm assuming so because we had all the trigger words today. Let me check here. Live. No, we are still fully monetized as of yet, shockingly, but I don't think it's going to stay that way. I'll keep you notified about that. And remember, please hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed, do me a favor and hit that like button and the subscribe button. Hit the subscribe button. Make sure you're subscribed. And if you are subscribed, make sure you are still subscribed. Thank you very much. We will see you tomorrow for Sarah Boone in Evening Time US. Bye now. Wait, mods. I forgot to thank you, mods. I forgot my thank yous. Mods, thank you so much for being super moddy. Chat, thank you for the support. We unlocked Doggo Cam for the first time in a week. We got the Doggo Cam out here. Appreciate the support with the chats, the monthly memberships, and the gifted memberships and all of that. And thank you, chat, for being the greatest chat on the entire internet. The Vice Squad rocks. We will see you all tomorrow there. I do love and appreciate everything all of you do here. Thank you for keeping us, everybody, including me, entertained. We'll see you tomorrow. This time, I'm really going out. Bye now.